Hello and welcome back to the PUBG Mobile Pro League Arabia Season 3 qualifiers. My name is GEEKAY. With me is the lovely Span Cargo. We're going to be taking you through all the action here in our second day. Now, Span, yesterday we saw some pretty exciting gameplay. First up, I got to ask you, do you think we're going to be seeing any more of that happening here today? Or do you think we could have a few change-ups potentially coming through?
I mean, in terms of exciting gameplay, I feel like that's just going to continue because now we kind of talked about it a little bit yesterday, actually. Now that the teams are definitely used to the lobby at this point, they had 5 whole games to kind of get used to the lay of the land. Coming into today, they should have done a lot of VOD review, and it should be even more competitive technically coming into the second day. So I think it's going to be even more interesting in terms of games, especially because the second day, this is the day where if you're lacking points, you really have to make them up now because you do not want to leave it until the very last day, the last 5 games, to go on ahead and qualify.
Now, speaking about that, teams having to put effort in, especially coming into today. I mean, yesterday we started off with a pretty big bang. We saw the team there from Vibe 6 coming in, taking that first winner chicken dinner, which was then, of course, followed by the players from Ra'ad. Then we saw Falcons come in with one. We saw the players there from Kurdistan as well. And then Falcons got yet another chicken dinner right off of the back of that. So some pretty strong performances we had spread out through the entirety of the board. But of course, before we get too deep into this, let's have a quick look at our format that we are going to be running through for these next 2 days.
Well, we already got done with one of our 3 days there in the center. We have 2 days left. The second day being today, the next one being tomorrow, and 5 matches per day. Erangel, Sanhok, Erangel, Miramar, Erangel. You guys know the drill. And of course, the 16 teams that are going to be playing against each other to try and make it to the top 8 to go on ahead and qualify to PMPL. I mean, DK, the top 8. Okay. You basically, at this point, you just have to be in the top, like, right? The first page of that leaderboard, not the second one. That, honestly, this lobby is pretty difficult, but that's still a good amount of space, a good amount of opportunity for a lot of these teams to go through.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunities for teams to still step up and show us what they've got and how they can get themselves up that leaderboard. And of course, now speaking of ways to get themselves up that leaderboard, they can do so through utilizing the point structures. We can see that first place awarding the team 15 points. We're going into second, which awards them 12 points. From there on, it trickles down from 10 points all the way down to 1 point for the placement anywhere between 8th and 12th place. And of course, that 13th to 16th place, they don't get awarded any points. But what's also so important is that ever essential 1 point per elimination coming through. And we've seen teams really hitting hard yesterday. Of course, if we look over towards the Falcons, they brought in 45 eliminations in just 3 games yesterday. So that has been absolutely insane stuff. And of course, here's just a quick reminder of all the teams we have participating here. We've got the Falcons, we've got a headquarters, we've got the players there from Vibe 6, we've got Triple D Iraq, we've got Ra'ad, we've got Stalwart UAE 963 Egypt, we've got KAMIKAZE, we've got 4 Kurdistan, Black Cobra, 1 million Esports, Clear Vision, as well as the Ultimates. We've got Conqueror Iraq, we've got the players there from GEEKAY Esports, as well as Revolution. Now, out of the performances we saw yesterday, did any of these teams really stand out for you?
I mean, you said it yourself. The one that just immediately stands out is, in fact, Team Falcons, probably because they're holding that first place position right now with 54 kill points. The next one being 52 placement points as well for them. The next team that has the highest amount of kills is 35. So 54 to 35, that's a very big gap. So Falcons is just absolutely excelling in everything that they're doing right now. And we can actually take a look at the points in general so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. Team Falcons doing really well at the top. And then Revolution kind of being in that second place position. They have 31 placement points, 35 kill points. So they're the next team. They're in second, not too far away. They're also doing consistent, just Falcons are being even more consistent, if that's even possible. And we even saw Revolution, actually. They got 2 second places in a row, our first 2 matches. And then after that, they kind of fell off. The Falcons, on the other hand, they weren't up in that second place position, but they did end up getting 2 chicken dinners. So they slowly grew or got better as the games went on.
Yeah, definitely some really, really interesting plays coming from a lot of these teams. But for me, I'm going to be looking towards a few of them to see what today could have in store for them. And I mean, with
Mhm.
that, I'm referring to the players from for Kurdistan, as well as Headquarter. And then we were talking about this a little bit before we
Yeah.
started with the broadcast. We're going to be we also going to be looking to see what the players from the Ultimates and Black Cobra are going to be bringing in, because if we look at Black Cobra, where they're currently situated, they've been showing some really strong consistency with regards to those placement points. The only thing that they could hopefully then work on bringing a little bit more together today would be then focusing a little bit more on getting those elimination points in as well.
Yeah, they're actually the team that I went on ahead and brought up because I didn't even realize that they were doing so well until we saw them up there. And then I looked at the placements and they got a fourth place, second place, 13th, and eighth. Like those are all really good placement points, but we haven't really seen them because I feel like we haven't really seen the fights that they're in. And taking a look at the second page, another team that we were keeping an eye on immediately is Vibe 6, that absolutely explosive first game that they had. But if you go ahead and take a look at their current points right now, they didn't end up really gaining that many more points after that first game. And that's why they're currently in that 11th place position. Not a great position to be, as you know, because that doesn't go on ahead and be in the qualifying range. So I'm kind of curious to see if they're going to be able to bring it back after that first game.
Yeah, it's definitely something interesting to look at, because, I mean, taking into consideration for that first chicken they got 15 placement points, which we see on that leaderboard. And of course, looking then towards the eliminations they were able to bring in after that first match, they found 8. So from that point moving forward, it was quite the tough kind of battlefield for them really to compete on. We saw a lot of these teams just stepping up, grabbing the reins, and leading the way forward. Now, that's what makes today so exciting, is the teams now, as you said yesterday, have the opportunity to go through those VOD reviews, come back with the strategy of how they could best approach today to try and elevate themselves back up that leaderboard. So I got to say, I'm quite excited, but who's that going to be? I don't know just yet.
I don't know just yet either. Another thing that I was actually kind of just thinking about is yesterday we had 5 whole games and there wasn't that many hot drops, and that usually day one, that's really where everything, all the craziness comes into play. So these teams did a really good job of kind of spreading out. But coming into day two, I'm wondering, it's not at this point where teams really need to get points by potentially dropping on some people, but the that's going to potentially happen. But today, since it is the new day, since they did do VOD review, I'm wondering if there is going to be any changes with these teams, just in terms of, we have to change up some of how we play the game to try and get ourselves some points.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. I mean, looking at the performances that we had coming in just from yesterday, we did have a few teams showing some really strong potential. I mean, if we look, for instance, towards the team there, GEEKAY, when they played the first match over on towards Sanhok, they brought in 5 eliminations, which puts them around about on par kind of with the performance we saw coming in from the team there of KAMIKAZE, really close to what Ra'ad also had. And of course, we had the players there from Revolution on a bit of a runaway performance coming in with those 9 elims. So definitely puts them up in the top 4 teams with the performances as we look over on towards what we saw on Sanhok. But of course, today we're going to be starting it out right over on towards Erangel. And if yesterday's first match was anything to go on, we could be expecting a little bit of a strong play once more coming in from the side of a Revolution. But of course, we have to have a quick at what our schedule for today is going to be. So we're going to be starting the day off over on towards Erangel, heading over on towards Sanhok after that. Then, of course, returning back to Erangel with a bit of Miramar in between that, and our final Erangel to close off the day.
And we talked about performance on each of these maps yesterday, like kind of curious if there's going to be a standout team on a specific map. But when I go ahead and take a look at where everybody kind of had their standings, I don't really think there was a team that did particularly excellent on a specific map. I feel like the closest one would be Black Cobras getting a 4th place and a 2nd place on Erangel for the first 2. The third one, they got 8th place, which still it's not the best, not the worst. That's a good amount of points you can go ahead and grab. But they also got 2nd place for Sanhok. So I feel like Black Cobras just in general are really consistent in most of the map, it seems, except for Miramar. Other than that, I haven't really seen any patterns in terms of teams doing well on each map, which honestly is a nice sign, because that means all these teams are really capable of competing on all of the maps.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna bring in quite a few interesting plays. But of course, yesterday we saw a really tough flight path to start off the day. The team's really having to try and work their way through to get into that zone. As we had the flight path all the way over on towards that eastern side, and of course our first zone forming over towards that far western edge. So definitely that started off with a little bit of a complication, I think. But I'm curious to see what this first match for today. Yet another opportunity to jump straight up into that. As we can see, of course, we're now still just reading up before hopping into our first match of the day. And I gotta say, like, hopefully the PUBG gods treat the teams a little bit better on this first match. I mean, we only got the kind of flight path and zone that you were looking for in our second visit to Erangel. So maybe we have a bit of a change up and see that coming in on the first.
I mean, now that it's the second day as well, you know that some of these teams' nerves might be a little bit higher. So just starting off with like a nice plane path and zone is just going to make them feel better. And then I feel like the rest of the day will be pretty competitive. Of course, we do want to see those challenges. Maybe after the first map, I'll hope for a little bit more of a mean plane path and first zone, as casters usually hope for. Same with viewers. But for this first one, I kind of want to see how taking yesterday and their performances is going to translate into today, because there's a couple of options for some teams. Either, you know, the teams that are doing really well are going to come and be a little bit too cocky and kind of fall back down, or they're going to continue to absolutely dominate. Or those teams towards the bottom are going to give them a run for those spots to qualify, because if sometimes teams, if they don't do well day one, they come back with like absolutely on fire. Like they realize we got to go ahead and step it up. We got our VOD review. We have the more information that we absolutely need to be able to perform. So there's a couple things that, again, can't really predict it. It's just based on the team and how they feel that they want to perform today.
Yeah, I mean, so we've seen that improvement come in from several teams, but I have to agree with you. It's going to be important for the teams that were performing exceptionally well near the later stages of yesterday to come in with a bit of a cool head coming into today. You know, as you said, not to be too cocky, but kind of try and maintain that momentum, that flow that they had working out so favorably for them, and they'll look to push that through the entirety of today here, or possibly as far out as they can manage. But I'm curious to see who's going to be the teams to kind of put their stuff together, right? To make everything just click into place, because we saw several opportunities, several moments of potential glory coming in from a lot of the teams situated a little bit further down that leaderboard. And I'm especially looking forward to seeing the players there from 1 million Esports also stepping up, showing us what they've got. As the same going, of course, for the players there from GEEKAY, and even the team coming in from Stalwart, because there were some pretty interesting plays. I mean, I've got to say, I like some of the strategies that they were trying to apply yesterday. Unfortunately, everything didn't go exactly as they would have hoped it would. But who knows? Maybe today could be the day in which we see all the strategies now coming together as one, and it works out absolutely fantastically for them.
I'll take that even a step further. I'm kind of keeping an eye on the teams in the 15th and 16th place, which is Triple D Iraq and 963 Egypt. They both have 15 points and 12 points respectively. That is not that many points when you look at the overall of things. I mean, Falcons currently sitting in first with 106, so they definitely have a lot to catch up. I guess a better comparison is currently in 8th, KAMIKAZE. That's the cutoff point to qualify. They have 33 points. So 12 points to 33 points, doable in a day? Technically, yes, but in this, all the teams are still going to be playing. So that just means that Triple D Iraq, 963 Egypt, they're going to have to perform even better. And I'm a little bit surprised to see them down there, because I feel like the moments that we did go on ahead and take a look at them during the games yesterday is both Triple D Iraq and 963 Egypt, they were doing something really good, you know? Like we saw them be able to perform in the moments that we did end up going ahead and taking a look at them. So seeing them down there at the bottom, they got to go on ahead and continue to do those good moments for the majority of the games today to catch up.
Yeah, I have to agree. So, I mean, at least we know that there's going to be 3 runs for them to have over on towards Erangel. And as we saw yesterday, that nice change up with a bit of that Sanhok Miramar exchange coming through as well definitely does add to the flavor and the kind of experience these teams are going through. And I mean, we've seen a lot of these teams come through from the PMCOs, from the PMNCs, and also from the previous seasons of the PMPL from season 2. And you can see some of that experience. It's there. You know, you can see the teams, they've been around the block a few times. They have that kind of know-how of how to work their way through. And what I'm actually quite pleased to say is that we didn't really see a lot of teams really spending too much time out in that blue zone. I mean, that is, of course, aside from what we normally have happening on a map like Sanhok, where that is kind of commonplace moving into those later phases. But particularly looking at Erangel as well as Miramar, the teams were pretty proactive with regards to those rotations. They made sure to try and stay well ahead of the zone and not to get too caught up by big old Papa Blue moving in.
There are a couple of teams that I do think were kind of out there, but you're right. It wasn't a good amount of teams like sometimes we usually see in qualifiers. So I guess some of those teams that did go on ahead and stay out in the blue, I want to see them start making rotations faster, because when I think about it, I do think it was those teams that did have a little bit more of a challenge ending up getting placement points and kill points because they were out in the blue for too long. They might need to go on ahead and move in a little bit sooner. They got to go, of course, be careful with that, because if they do move sooner and they're super far away from zone, they could be running into people. But I mean, that's just part of the game, you know. The IGL has to go ahead and figure out when's our best time to move in and what path, just based off of what they know about the other teams and where they go ahead and land and their usual rotations. Because teams, you know, they usually have some favorite rotations coming in here, and you have to keep that all in mind before you go on ahead and make a move. And that's part of what makes this competition challenging.
Well, speaking about challenging, I'm going to propose a challenge to you, right? I did it yesterday. I'm going to do it again now, right? What do you think is going to be our first flight path? Yesterday, we saw it over on towards that eastern side with a really western phase. What do you think we're going to be having in this first match?
I'll just say the opposite. How about that? Actually, you know, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see something more on the northern side of Erangel, because we haven't really gotten that yet. So I want to see some fighting, a plain path, maybe just the zone I'd be happy with up towards the north, because we haven't seen that much on the northern side of that river. So that's what I'm hoping for, at least in one of the Erangels today. So hopefully the first one.
Well, thumbs and fingers crossed, everything in position as we're getting ready to move up to see, of course, where that flight path is. As we can see, we've got the lovely Stalwart right up ahead. So we are coming in from the northern side, and it does seem like we have yet another eastern flight path coming on through. But now we have to wait until we see the map to get a 100% idea of exactly where we're going to be going. But this does look vaguely familiar, very, very similar to our first initial flight path we had just yesterday.
Yeah, well, it does exactly look like we're having a repeat of yesterday so far. Next, all we have to wait for is that first circle to pop over on the western side again. But I'm still holding on to the hope that it'll go to the north, because we have these people that drop to the north. I mean, KAMIKAZE, you can see going Severny, some other teams dropping towards Kameshki, Yaznaya, Polyana. Like, you know, everybody chooses their drop spot for a specific reason. That's what they go on ahead and practice and scrims, and just anytime they go and play the game. So a circle going on ahead, popping up towards them, that obviously is nice. So yesterday, it never going up to the north is obviously not something that teams want to see. So I want to see how the fighting would happen up there. Give a little bit of a challenge towards the people in the middle of this map, or even the southern side, and see how they go on ahead and figure out a rotation into this. So I'm still hoping. The plane's almost over, so we're about to find out soon.
Oh, let's see. The moment of truth is about to be upon us. I mean, I also would not say no to a northern zone, but unfortunately, it's over on towards that southeastern side. Definitely a kind of mix between what we had in our second and third visit over on towards Erangel, because we had the one which, of course, centered up beautifully over on towards that military base. And then that last one, which closed up relatively close to that kind of Pachinki side, you know. So I'm curious to see what the teams are going to be doing with this. Already, we see a big concentration of teams situated within the zone itself. I mean, looking down at Revolution and the players there from 1 million Esports, very similar drop to what we had from them just yesterday. And of course, also, if we looked up to the top over towards Kameshki, we do have 2 teams dropping in that position. Very, very similar kind of positions we had. But now the question comes is, will we have a similar outcome from these teams, or are they going to try and mix things up a little bit?
You know, we'll just have to wait and see. I have to go ahead and speak on who are watching right now as well. Ra'ad, they're currently in that 6th place position. We saw them leave Rozhok super late the last Erangel we watched, and that gave opportunity for a team to get up on the hill above them and really mess with them. So kind of going on ahead and taking a look at them, I'm hoping that they're going to be able to leave Rozhok before any team kind of stops above them, because now that that team knows that it's possible to kind of go on ahead and mess with Ra'ad, they might be motivated to go on ahead and do it again. That, or based off this playing path, I don't want to mess with it just yet. Maybe the first game of the second day isn't the time to go ahead and do it, but the possibilities are there. So all these teams that we kind of mentioned that need to make a move sooner, that's who I'm going to be keeping an eye on in this overall map.
Well, I feel it's never too late. I mean, and it's also, I don't think it's ever too early. I'd like to see teams just kind of coming out of nowhere, stepping up, surprising everyone. As I think that could be a good approach to take, because teams kind of got an idea of what to expect just yesterday. Now, I think if one of these teams situated a little bit lower down were to step up and get aggressive within their comfort zone, right? Not go and try anything that they are not comfortable or feel too confident with trying. I definitely think we could see some surprise performances coming from these teams as they step up and just show a little bit more confidence as they progress through.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. It's oh my goodness. I feel like I'm preaching at this point how big mentality is. If you're going ahead and not do so well on day 1, you really have to completely forget that basically on day 2. Don't forget what happened though. You have to go ahead and take what happened and apply that to be able to learn on what to do for day 2. But you have to forget all of the feelings of unsureness or questioning, doubt, anything like that, because coming into this, you have to be confident. You have to be ready to actually perform. So I'm hoping those teams will kind of forget the performance yesterday in order to today really shine. So one of them being GEEKAY, down there in that 13th place position. They have 24 total points right now, which is not that much, but they're actually pretty consistent, TK, because they have 12 place in points and 12 kill points. So I guess their consistency is there, but they have to go ahead and consistently stay alive longer to get those place in points and therefore get some more kills.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we're just going to be looking for, if we look at GEEKAY, for instance, right? For them to consistently perform, but at the same time, look at just increasing the points gained. Just a little bit. Not too much, because, they're still going to try and keep it within what is within their comfort zone. But who knows? Maybe they'll prove us all wrong, step up, come out of nowhere, and just, go into absolute beast mode throughout the entirety of today. We'll of course have to wait and see what exactly it is they have in store for us. But I mean, we know all these teams, they are competent, right? But now we just need to see that confidence come through. But look at Alush just stepping up, tapping away at Abood as Abood is trying to move up. Quick smoke, of course, being deployed there by Abood now. But again, nice patience coming in from Alush. I'm pretty sure Alush saw those movements up ahead coming in as the players from Stalwart start making their way towards this vehicle. The tires now, of course, getting blown out. Oh, hopefully Mexico can do something here.
Yeah, I mean, Alush, he was watching that, like, pointedly. He was standing inside that little wizard tower just watching that. I mean, these teams have been dropping in this area this entire time. I feel like the ultimates, that means that they watched those VODs and they ended up identifying the Stalwart. They usually go on ahead and go for the vehicle that spawns there. So Alush, he took that as an opportunity to try and do some damage, because you can see, taking a look at the loot, like, not the best, not the worst, clearly just stood there waiting for an opportunity and almost got it. Alush almost ended up taking down Abood. Was so low HP, but at some point you can see Alicia's like, okay, well, now that's over, the opportunity's gone, I just need to go ahead and continue looting to actually get myself some stuff. The ultimates, they could have gotten a sneaky little first point right there, but they can always try again next time.
Yep. There's no point like the present to try and step up. But who knows? I mean, there's still some interesting positions that can be taken up here. Of course, the players from CONQUEROR Iraq now making their way through. I mean, they are so close to KAMIKAZE. KAMIKAZE only being 4 points ahead of them, as you said. KAMIKAZE being kind of the gatekeepers here for the time being. But as we've seen, these teams, they can decide to step up at any moment. And I think that's what's going to make this map, this first initial match, so interesting, as we don't know who's going to be the team to step up and where those surprise performances rather are going to be coming from. But definitely for the time being, we've seen a few hits making their way on through. Of course, now the players here from CONQUEROR continuing further and further towards the zone. But again, we do see that proactiveness coming in. Several teams already getting their rotations sorted, advancing themselves a little bit closer on to that zone. And already headquarters and the players here from Clear Vision could potentially be getting into our next engagement.
Yeah, Clear Vision definitely just scoped in towards them. Definitely know that they have neighbors in this situation. I actually love whenever a game starts, I'm like, okay, I want to know who's going to start getting in a fight, because obviously those interactions are really important, because if they are teams right next to each other on the leaderboard, that of course like increases, like, I don't know the correct word I'm looking for, not the desperation, but I guess just the overall intensity of that fight, because you know that they're just really trying to jump over each other. It looks like headquarter though, they don't really want to have anything to do with that team up there, so they're going to keep on moving. They're just kind of frog jumping between places to play out of to try and find a better spot inside of this zone.
Yeah, I think they're saving themselves for what is still to come, as we do see a nice concentration of teams once again now focusing more on that more centralized region in and around Shelter as well as Malta. Not a lot of teams positioned over on towards Farm, but now the zone doesn't leave them with many other options. They now kind of have to start converging even more so onto that point. But one point of interest could be down towards the south, where we have Revolution and 1 Million Esports, both teams now just inching their way closer and closer towards that eastern bridge. But of course, we still have several teams outside of zone now getting their rotation sorted, moving a little bit closer. But I'm also expecting a little bit of chaos to erupt up in the north, as we can see KAMIKAZE and Clear Vision now starting to go at each other's throats here.
Oh, that nade. Oh, I saw it. I was like, that looks good. And it is Clear Vision, Mekity. That was insane nade. KAMIKAZE, a little bit scary for them at this point. Only 2 of them still alive. Basil. And they're completely out in the open. They're stuck in the middle of a field. If they want to go on ahead and get these reses on their teammates, that's where they have to be. But with that vehicle explosion, it's not going to work out. There's only 1 left, and I'm glad to see him leaving, because at this point, if he wants his team to continue, he really does have to get out of there. Kind of curious. Will Clear Vision chase that, though?
Well, I think Clear Vision is going to be a force to be reckoned with here, as both Clear Vision and KAMIKAZE finished relatively strong in yesterday's first match. But now we see D7 here just using this opportunity to reposition, seeing that they're the only remaining player for the side here of KAMIKAZE. And as we know, these solos, once they get into those later phases, they can cause quite a bit of problems for the teams, having strong numbers coming in there. But of course, that is still some time away, seeing that we are now only approaching that third phase. Of course, Blue Zone is starting to make its way through. And for the time being, the teams can actually afford to stay around there. But who can't afford to stay on the bridge is going to be Smoker, as the players here from CONQUEROR Iraq just lie in wait on that northern side of the bridge. And this is really an interesting rotation coming in from Revolution.
I guess they didn't. I mean, the other side of the bridge is completely filled. There's already another team holding the other bridge, so they were hoping to be able to cross on this one. This one should have been safer because it's further away from the zone, but somebody else decided to camp it. I guess they figured Revolution needs to come this direction. Let's hold it. They ended up doing this a couple times yesterday, and this time it ended up working. They got themselves a little sneaky point on the Smoker. Revolution now is a 3-man. That's going to be a little bit more difficult moving on for the rest of this game, but also they still have no idea how they're going to cross, because look, 1 Million Esports is the other team holding the other bridge, and even Stalwart, they're in the compound that's closest. This entire area, I wouldn't want to make a rotation through this either, so that other bridge really was their best hope, but now they have to figure something else out.
Yep, they definitely will have to try and figure something out along the way. But I'm curious to see where the rest of the Stalwart team is. I mean, we've got Abood right here as well as Mexico. But now, of course, we still to see where Easy and Van Kid is. Because this could be a really interesting approach if 1 Million Esports decides to push a little bit more aggressively from this position forward. As we can see already, the rotations and the spread starting to come through from the side there of 1 Million. I mean, the players there from Stalwart, they don't really have the reinforcements or the backup in position just yet if 1 million decided to push on forward.
Yeah, they have an insane split right now. They're waiting for this next zone to pop, and then they'll probably go on ahead and condense back into one area. And I feel like they should go on ahead and choose the teammates that are in the very center of this map right now. So that means 1 million Esports might be able to take where Mexico and Abood are right above them to the northern side. And then that finally might be the rotation that Revolution needs to actually get across. So you can see them kind of playing near the water right now, too, trying to figure out a way to cross. This is going to be a really hard rotation, though, for everybody more on the northern side of this map, because they're all together in what used to be the center of this area, but now they all have to shift a little bit over towards the western side. A lot of this map being in water as well is so difficult. We can already see the shooting happening on this eastern side as people are rotating by each other.
Yeah, it is going to be an absolute bloodfest right there on that eastern front. As we can see, Malta is not particularly a spot where you want to be if you're looking to survive into those later phases, because the team's really now starting to congest onto that front. But here we go now. The players from Ra'ad looking to set themselves up in towards this farm region. But in the meanwhile, the shots definitely starting to fly, as we can see over on towards this eastern side. This is where the players now from the Ultimate and Triple D find themselves in a little bit of a tricky position. A little bit of a spread also coming through there, as we got that 2-1 split for the players of the Ultimates. But Triple D, they're not settled in a position just yet as they continue to push a little bit further forward. You're trying to utilize that hard cover as they make their way on in. But look at this now, 1 million also out in the open. The Ultimates, they could really be utilizing this hard cover if they so choose.
And it looks like, I mean, this is where they dropped. I would like to point out, this is where they dropped, this is where they loot, and they haven't moved whatsoever. And now they're on the very edge of this zone, and everything in front of them is already filled. And that's kind of a difficult place for them to be. And obviously they didn't want to move too early because they were inside the zone. Why move if your drop spot is in a safe location? But now they are on the very edge of the zone. The chances of it coming back towards them are pretty slim, and there's now people kind of contesting them for their location. That's a pretty harsh spot to be getting out of. But people like Headquarter here have it a little bit worse in that they have nothing. They didn't have their drop spot be inside of these zones, and we can see that they're still outside of the zone. They're kind of waiting for the blue to get a little bit closer before they make a move. And with that waiting, the teams usually do that because they're hoping that there's be fights happening inside the zone that'll make them have a higher placement and therefore get more points. So they're just going to be a little bit patient out here outside the zone for now while that blue zone is still slowly approaching.
Yeah, no, we're going to be seeing a little bit of that slow, steady approach coming in from the teams as they're looking to not overexpose themselves too much. Of course, the players there from for Kurdistan just set up a little bit in towards the zone itself. But now as we wait to see where this next phase is going to pop, it moves all the way down to that eastern bridge. 1 million finds themselves now in an absolutely beautiful position, but also the position in which we see the players there from Stalwart could really be one to kind of contend with, as Abood is holding a good anchor point and the rest of the team is a little bit further off, as we can see over on towards the western side. But I think that is a good call coming in from Abood, choosing to potentially rotate back into the safety of the numbers there. Meanwhile, the players here from HQ are going to be meeting up against the players here from Falcons. We can see a nice exchange back and forth. But with that, Aziz now also getting knocked right on down. I mean, the Falcons, man, they're just rolling through this engagement.
I mean, they're an aggressive team, so I'm not quite surprised to see this. They have a little bit of advantage having that higher ground right now, and they're just big pushing. The other team isn't even trying to go on ahead and get together to kind of fend off the Falcons, and that leaves just one person left. Oh.
Wow. Wow. I mean, well, the Falcons, they just stepped up, cleaned that one out. They almost didn't take any damage from that entire engagement. So they definitely off to a really strong start here. But as we now move it on a little bit further forward, here are some of these teams we're going to be keeping a very watchful eye on. The players, of course, from Black Cobra now going up against 963 Egypt. Oh, but look at that. Zuxi gets taken right on down as Philly sends in a beautiful grenade. This is now that moment they've been waiting for, that opening for Black Cobra to start rushing in to focus a little bit more on those kills. But unfortunately, 963 Egypt is not going to be making it too easy for them.
Well, they're still fighting, actually. They had started this fight a while ago, and it looks like it's still continuing inside of farm. Again, now outside of zone. But they really have to go ahead and clean this up if they're hoping to actually continue. Ooh, a big 360 coming in from Rami, but no way. 963 Egypt will actually win against Black Cobra in the end. And 963, they need this. They were in that 16th place position, but already with 3 kills for themselves, they have to get that res up so that they still will stay 3 strong and figure out their next move.
Yeah, that was really a good situational play coming in there from the side of a 963. But now we jump onto the open reaches once again, as we can see GEEKAY, the players here from Conqueror Iraq, now getting ready to fight for that position in the zone. A lot of utility use coming through from both sides. We can see an absolute bombardment of grenades getting sent on in. Oh, but with that, Hazem gets taken right on down as a cheeky shot there from Vibe 6 comes in. Oh, but now look at this. Conqueror Iraq trying to advance forward. It is only an open field up ahead. Not a lot of hard cover really to make much use of. So good position actually coming in there from the side of Ra'ad as well as Stalwart. But Groza now feeling the pressure as a quick knock and confirmation comes right on through.
Yeah, one of his teammates had tried jumping out of the vehicle moments before as well. Was instantly taken down. The vehicle probably about to explode. And unfortunately for Conqueror Iraq, there just wasn't a spot for them to be able to play. Everybody watched them drive on in, and those are some points that they obviously want to take advantage of. Ra'ad grabbing that last one. Taking a look at this overall map, though, it's about to pop once again. There's only a couple teams up on the northern side that are having a little bit of trouble, but otherwise every single place that is playable is kind of filled, except for around where 1 million Esports is. They decided to kind of leave the compound that is now inside of zone to hold Revolution out on the bridge, and I'm kind of surprised by that decision. I mean, they could potentially get more points if they stay in that center compound, but instead they're focusing on just taking out Revolution for now.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a rip there, as we can see, of course, Revolution. They still have a few numbers up as the shots continue to fly on through. 1 million now getting one of their players knocked out in that exchange. But of course, if we look at what's happening on the screen as well, the players here from 963 Egypt now trying to make a play coming in from that northern side. We see the Falcons just on the edge of zone. Beautiful hit coming through with the AWAM there on towards Damar. A beautiful, consistent tap now from Zaxi as Damar gets knocked right on down. But of course, the players here from 963 Egypt put on a little bit of a back foot. They've got quite a bit of ground still to cover to make a good stand in that zone. But it's going to be an absolute minefield for them to try and cross to get into the safety.
Exactly. Especially since this entire northern side is just a big field. They do have a little bit of a hill here that looks like 963 Egypt is actually going to take advantage of. There we go. Perfect place to kind of play out of. The only thing they have to worry about is Stalwart right beside them. And oh no, my goodness, here comes Ra'ad and their rotation as well. They're both going to be fighting for this little hill, it seems like. But for right now, the smokes is enough cover for them. But Ra'ad, it's not good for them. Falcons will be eliminated in the meantime. You can see, wait a second, I think Neveralone actually ended up taking him out with some nades. Look at that.
Wow, I mean, that's a beautiful grenade. Just sorry it came from the wrong side, but either way, that is just the way the cookie kind of crumbles for the time being. Now we see the players here from 963 Egypt still just looking to fortify their position up in on the edge of zone here. Of course, Vibe 6 up ahead, still looking to find that way in. We got KAMIKAZE also sitting in a very similar position, but of course being reduced down to only one remaining player. We got the team now from Ra'ad looking to make a bit of a comeback here, but it does seem like they're struggling to get a strong footing in this region.
I mean, it's completely out in the open. There are 2 compounds in this zone, but otherwise everything is a big open field. Nice shots coming in from 963 Egypt players here, making sure that nobody on the western side can continue to come in, but they can't quite see all the fighting that's happening over there. That's why it's so hot. I mean, at least, honestly, Ra'ad were able to go ahead and find something to play out of. They're right beside the other compound. It's really that team that's smack in the center that's kind of feeling themselves, but I only hope that they can get themselves some kills as well. I want to see this tap, though. I want to see him actually be able to get a knock while we're spectating him as KAMIKAZE currently goes down.
Oh, I mean, 963 Egypt getting so close. Come on, show us the AWAM hit. Come on, Zilal. Come on, get it. But of course, now we see that zone moving up once again, focusing a little bit further down on towards the southern side. 9 teams remain. Beautiful opportunity presents itself, and with that, from Mar gets
Nice.
taken right on down. Vibe 6 getting sent right back into the lobby. 8 teams now remain. Stalwart actually having a controlling position now within the zone. They have control of these compounds, but now they need to try and defend us. We can see GEEKAY also now trying to advance back up. But look at the utilities coming out. VanKid finding a beautiful hit right there. It's now come down to Mumbai to try and hold it all together. But a 4-man team for the side here of Stalwart could be a really good play for them.
Oh man, and taking a look at that map, actually, there's so much fighting happening right now with all these zone shifts that we didn't even get to see the fight between Revolution and 1 Million Esports. We can see that 1 Million Esports only has one person left, although in the southern side of this zone, and that compound was still open this entire time, but now Team Ultimate ended up driving on in, figured out that that's open, so Team Ultimate also has a great spot for themselves now. So, oh man, with this next zone shift, I really feel like they're going to be doing really well in this position as more fighting, of course, happens. There we go. More teams are out.
I mean, Stalwart not satisfied with getting those knocks alone. They want to try and clear it up, get those confirmations. But of course, now there's still going to be quite a bit of fighting, as we can see the players here from full Kurdistan positioned up in towards the north, trying to defend that entranceway back up in towards zone. Of course, 963 Egypt right here alongside them. The utilities now getting cooked up, sent on through. But of course, look at that. We got the players here from the Ultimate making their way on in. Beautiful grenade finding its way right on towards Empire. 1 knock, 90 now. Trying to move on up. 963 Egypt. Not finding a clear, easy way in just yet. They know they have to try and deal with this threat coming in from the side here of 4 Kurdistan. Up comes the nade. Is 1 knock going to get taken out? No! Anaconda gets taken right on down. This is the opportunity now for 963 to come rushing in. Are they going to be able to clear it up? One player stands between them and the safety of this compound. Up comes Nossa trying to clear it out. Full squad rush, and with that, 4 Kurdistan gets eliminated. 963 Egypt now looking absolutely fantastic with 9 elims to their name.
They knew that they needed to catch up. They were in that 16th place position, but I feel like I can already confidently say that they're not going to be there any longer after this match. They're still safe on this northern side as well, just inside of this zone. The next team that they potentially would have to push or get rid of is Ra'ad and then Team Ultimate, and they're honestly in a good position to do so. We can see a drop kind of landing, kind of gifting themselves to Ultimate as well, but no, Ra'ad actually is taken down. We're down to 3 teams left, and this zone is actually going to go ahead and pull over in favor the team down on the western side, which is Stalwart.
But Spam, this is exactly what we wanted to see. We wanted to see the teams positioned lower down on that leaderboard, stepping up and giving us an absolutely beautiful performance. And that is exactly what we get coming into this first match. Yeah, we got the players here from 963 Egypt now looking to hold on, trying to push up. They don't have that clear position in zone just yet. The same could, of course, be said for the players here coming in from the side of the Ultimate. But now the pressure lies on the shoulders of Stalwart to try and defend the zone to their best abilities. It is not going to be an easy one at all. But, of course, easy is going to try and make it look easy.
Yeah, I'm like, I like this. Stalwart, they're not just going to go on ahead and sit back inside of the compounds that they already have. They ended up sending Easy out to try and make it even more difficult for 963 Egypt to get over there. I mean, honestly, it was already a difficult place for 963 Egypt to kind of play out of, but now that Easy is there tossing some nades on the other side of the small little ridge that 963 Egypt would have, that makes it even more difficult for them. But only hope, though, is that Easy doesn't get caught out by 963 Egypt or Team Ultimate, because otherwise that would be a pretty bad situation for Team Stalwart. But now the blue zone's upon them. Now they have to go on ahead and make a move. Easy was able to kind of just sit back and relax for now. But all 3 of these teams, I will say, need to get these points, because the Ultimates are the only ones that are in the highest spot right now, and that is 10th place. That's not in qualifying range. And then Stalwart 14th, 963 Egypt 16th. So this is an intense game ending. All 3 of these teams know that they need to get this chicken dinner.
Oh, this is going to be a really tough one, as we see Blue Zone advancing its way forward, forcing the hands of these teams. But Easy just holding that position, trying to get those utilities in. But in the meanwhile, VanKid gets knocked right on down. Zuxi now trying to bring in a bit of suppressive fire there, but Easy just staying cool, calm, and collected, not budging just yet. But this is now the opportunity for 963 Egypt to try and push on forward. Nossa gets spotted out. Mexico taking a little bit of damage in the exchange, quickly trying to regain a little bit of health, putting it back up into the health bar there. Of course, the res is now trying to come through the place here from Stalwart, trying to keep their numbers up and in fighting form. There's a 3v3v4 moving in to this second to last phase. 30 seconds remain on the clock. Then we're going to enter that 9th phase, and then there will be no more chances. The teams rather now have to make the call. Look at this play coming through. I mean, we still can see that A-Ram shot come in. Oh, but down they go. Mexico
nice.
finds the head. Alush now also getting picked up in the process. With that, chaos now ensues.
Nice.
As the ultimate gets taken right on down. It now turns to 9-6-3 Egypt. And Stalwart, up comes Easy. Tries to pick up the first few shots. Takes quite a bit of damage in exchange, though.
Oh no, Easy ended up being able to push up, but it was a little bit too late. The rest had come through, so he was only able to go ahead and go for a re-knock. I was actually really impressed with this and what Stalwart is doing, because they're able to take out an entire person. No way! No, I think they turned it around. 9-6-3 Egypt ends up getting 3 knocks. There's only 1 person left for Stalwart while everybody else is bleeding out right now. That is not looking good for them. They had this advantage, but as they're trying to cross over, 9-6-3 was able to turn it around. This is not looking good. Easy had to stay alive for Stalwart, but he was taken down, and now it's Van Kid left.
Oh, this could be the turn that 9-6-3 Egypt was looking for. Van Kid now trying to hide behind the van. Up comes the push. Now it's 9-6-3 Egypt. Move up and claim the victory here. Taking home the winner chicken dinner. Absolutely fantastic performance coming in from them. That is what we wanted to see. And boy, did the teams deliver here, Span.
I mean, they had 9 kills before they even got to those last fights there. So we knew that 9-6-3 Egypt were already on a mission to get themselves out of that last place spot. And then they go ahead and win it. That is insane. I feel a little bit upset because Stalwart, I do feel like they had the opportunity to win that as well. But since they had to deal with the ultimates as well, that ended up them being in the 2nd place position. But let's take a look at those overall, ZK, because that was a sick game.
Absolutely insane game. Of course, we are looking at that 2nd page. First up, as you can see the players here from headquarters, Black Cobra sitting at the lower side of that. Of course, Triple D Conquerors up ahead, sitting on 2 points apiece. Of course, the same can be said for Vibes as well as GEEKAY. KAMIKAZE coming in on 3. Revolution sitting there with 3 elims to their name, putting them on a grand total of 4 points. So definitely quite a bit of a change around from what we saw coming into that first match yesterday. But now as we look at the front page, this is absolutely amazing for the team starting off this day. I mean, this is what you want to see. You want to see the team from 9-6-3 Egypt come in with a 28-pointer. Of course, Stalwart coming in with 25. Both teams sitting on 13 elims apiece. Span, that is what we want. That is how you get your butt out of the lower end of the leaderboard and up onto the top side where you want to be.
Definitely. I mean, I don't really have anything else to say, but definitely. It looks like they're also kind of giving the Falcons. The Falcons currently are winning in terms of how many points per single match, I believe with 31, but Egypt, Stalwart, 28 and 25, nothing to scoff at whatsoever. And I mean, we'll be able to see that overall leaderboard after the 3rd match and see just how far they're able to climb after that, after even just the first game. But all I can say, I can comfortably say that they're no longer in 14th and 16th.
Yeah, I 100% believe that. I mean, some really impressive performances coming through, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the day will have in store for us. Of course, speaking of which, we are going to be jumping into a quick break, after which we'll come back with a little bit of that Sanhok action. Stay tuned. See you guys in a few minutes. Hello and welcome back to the PUBG Mobile Pro League Arabia Season 3 qualifiers. My name is GEEKAY. With me is Span Cargo. And if you are just joining us, you missed out on an absolutely fantastic match 1. Of course, we came into today hoping to see the teams sitting a little bit lower on that leaderboard at the end of yesterday to come in and surprise us with their performances. And boy, did they do exactly that. Of course, we saw the players there from 963 Egypt as well as Stalwart coming in with absolutely fantastic performances. But now we're having a bit of a look at the leaderboard here. We can see Falcons still holding on to their pole position on 112. So only 6 points they've gathered so far here today. But of course, Revolution still in second. We've got the players there from Clear Vision holding in third. But what's interesting to see, though, is the addition of Stalwart coming into that 7th place. They started off the day, of course, over in the 14th place. It's a beautiful jump up there for them.
And the Ultimates, I'll have to say that. The Ultimates got in 3rd place our first matchup today, and they started in 10th place, jumping up to 5th. But you're right, Stalwart now in 7th, starting from 14th. Both those teams jumping up onto this first page into the qualifying range. Those are big feats for them. We can even see the Ultimates, they did so mostly through kill points. Look at that 18 placement to 27 kills. Ultimates, they're definitely deadly, it seems like. So that makes me even excited to be going into our second match on Sanhok and see if they're able to carry that momentum. Same with Stalwart, actually. 16 placement points, 26 kill points. Insane gameplay coming through from them. So it does look like our first page is already disrupted. I'm a little bit surprised by that. But taking a look at our second page, 963 Egypt as well. Started in 16th place, now to 9th place with 20, 40 total points. That's insane for them. And our entire leaderboard is just completely different.
Yeah. I mean, 2020, that means perfect vision, and that is what they brought in to that first match. But of course, as we mentioned, we are going to be heading over to a little bit of that Sanhok action to get nice and sweaty up in the jungles there. As we saw the teams yesterday really stepping up, getting quite aggressive. And of course, this was the match in which we saw the team there from Ra'ad taking that chicken. But of course, we had the team there from Revolution actually finishing quite strong, coming in with 9 elims to their name. So who knows? Maybe we could see yet another change upcoming through, as we already have a really strong start coming in for the side there of 963 Egypt, as well as the players from Stalwart. So they can only go up from this point moving forward. I've got to say, I'm quite excited to see what this lovely Sanhok will have in store for us. So there's no point in really asking as to where we think the flight path is going to be going. As we know, on Sanhok, flight path doesn't matter too much. Of course, we did see the zone moving up on towards that northwestern side. Do you think we're going to be having a similar kind of situation here today, or are we hoping for something a little bit more over towards that eastern edge?
I mean, I'm always hoping for something different because that means that it's going to stretch the skills of all of our teams. So it did go up towards that northwestern island last time. I would just like for it to go literally anywhere else, because then that'll be a little bit more of a challenge to the teams that are playing, and I want to see that. I want to see those different interactions as well. And kind of now that we have gained more knowledge on these teams, with 3 teams from the bottom just absolutely blowing it out of the water game 1, I'm interested to see if they're really going to be coming back into the Sanhok match and doing something completely different as well. Like, they have to keep continuing that momentum. They can't just stop after game 1. So I'm curious to see who's going to do it.
Well, we don't have to wait much longer, as we can see, of course, that flight path coming in from the southwestern side, sticking to the western edge. So definitely taking a little bit of a chunk out of the reach. But of course, this is Sanhok, so the teams can still pretty much reach almost anywhere across this map. So we are potentially going to be seeing a little bit more of a concentration of teams over on towards this western side. But I mean, there's nothing that a little bit of running and a few vehicles can't fix. The teams can look to reposition themselves. But this is where it's going to be quite interesting to see where this first initial zone is going to be popping up. I'm hoping for something different. I have to go with you on that one, as you said, and only time will tell. But we don't have to wait much longer, as the plane just left the map. And now the drum roll ensues as we wait to see where that is going to be going. But again, a good spread coming in from a lot of the teams, as the zone now moves all the way over on towards that southeastern side. Definitely a good change. A lot of teams already positioned within. But now comes down to how those rotations are going to be coming through, especially the players there from Vibe 6. situated in a little bit of a tricky play there. I mean, they got clear vision as well as the players from Revolution sharing that northwestern island with them. So we're going to have to see quite a few interesting rotations coming off of that island.
Honestly, there's even more interesting stuff. If you took a look at a lot of these areas, there's some teams that are kind of mixing together. Even one right here, well, this is Vibes and Clear Vision that we already went on ahead and mentioned, but even in the other side of the map, there's a couple of teams that have a couple people all right next to each other. So there might be some other fights. Yep, we can even see in the kill feed a member of Cobra taking down somebody from Ra'ad. But let's see how Vibes and Clear Vision are going to start going, because there's two of them in a compound by themselves, and it looks like Clear Vision, they're already all convening together. If you took a look at that mini map, they're already all just running down to try and take on the rest of Vibes.
Oh, but this is what we want to see. We want to see that aggression come on in. Again, a good approach coming in from the side of Clear Vision. I mean, they're trying to take a good, decent spread while pushing on through. But now, up comes Makodi. Oh, come on. Is this one going to work out? Azrael just patiently waiting. Up comes the hits. Picks up one knock, but does get traded off. And with that, a really tough start for the players here from the side of Vibe 6. But, I mean, definitely a fantastic start for Clear Vision. Already 2 elims to the name. Vibes now down to only 2 remaining hopefuls. And, yeah, this is where those positional plays are going to be absolutely essential once again.
Yeah, I mean, Clear Vision just off the pop, just immediately grabbing a singular gun and then running down to try and help out their teammates. That's basically the correct action. So the other members from Vibes, a little bit too far away to be able to run on over and help out their teammates. That's going to, of course, hurt, because one of the biggest rules, in my opinion, of PUBG Mobile, or any game, honestly, like this with teams, is to try and preserve life. Preserve your teammates' life. So if your teammates is in danger, especially this early on, you should just grab a singular gun and just run on over there and try to help them out.
Yeah, I mean, especially on a map like Sanhok, it is quite easy to get closer, much faster, seeing that there's not a lot of distance really to cover. But now it all comes down to what the teams are going to be doing with these positions. So you can see Triple D as well as the players there from Stalwart finding themselves relatively close together. There's still a little bit of distance in between them. But of course, Fox just taking a bit of caution here, not looking to get themselves sent back in the early stages of this match here. And I mean, hopefully this works out. Yesterday we saw them finishing up in that 10th place. Hopefully things go a little bit better for them this time around. Of course, 1 million Esports also going to be looking to improve their finishing. They finished, well, their end position, whatever. The spot they end up in, of course, on this map. We saw them taking 7th place with 4 elims to their name. So now it all just comes down to how they make their way through and find a good position coming in to this first initial phase. Of course, players here from CONQUEROR Iraq now. Galaga just utilizing the bike, the motorcycle indoors, as one is supposed to be doing if you've got a lot of open space. If you don't do this, don't try it. It only works on PUBG.
They're ready.
Of course, no.
Yeah,
they're ready to
roll. They are very much ready to roll. There you go. They're all leaving together. Nice rotations coming through from them. Definitely want to be together, especially on Sanhok. I'd be a little bit scared to drive around on Sanhok, but they're going to go for it for now. But oh my goodness, headquarter versus for Kurdistan already up on top of this hill. I'm not surprised.
This is a very similar kind of play to what we saw yesterday with the position up on this hilltop. We know teams like to move up into here. We're not seeing any fighting up towards that bootcamp side, but it's a really healthy exchange between both headquarters and, of course, the players here from for Kurdistan. But now look at Cobra just holding that position up ahead. Rip just patiently waiting. A little bit of a sneaky snake coming in there from Rafi Cobra, but up comes Rip. He is not going to be waiting around for too long. Pretty sure he knows that there's someone there. Of course, with that now, Rafi budges and tries to get the heck out of there. But, of course, up comes the headquarter in hot pursuit. Oh, spots the feet. That is the giveaway play right there. The feet were sticking out, and that's all she wrote.
Yep, and that's going to be it for Headquarter. I believe, isn't it Headquarter that drops Boot Camp? So instead of for Kurdistan coming up there and bothering Headquarter inside of Boot Camp, Headquarter got there first, and they got the jump onto for Kurdistan. So getting 2 down, that means that there's only 2 of them left. That's going to be pretty difficult to kind of continue the rest of the game. They're going to have to be playing a little bit more passively. Headquarter, they're definitely happy with that. You know, they got the 2 kill points. They got the start of chasing off that team from pestering them ever again. They're definitely set, and they can continue on with their rotation to play the rest of the game pretty easily.
But we know Headquarter for being a team that is quite comfortable on Sanhok. I mean, yesterday they finished up in 4th place, 3 elims to their name. So, you know, no surprise really to see them with that potential threat coming in from the side there of for Kurdistan. Just, you know, applying a bit of pressure, pushing them back. And we saw then, of course, the team there for Kurdistan starting to rather disengage from that position, rotating out a little bit further away, trying to get themselves into a bit of safety there. But, of course, now we move on to the players here from Clear Vision, currently sitting on 2 elims to their name, taking out the first 2 there from the side of, I believe it was the players from Vibes, actually. But now, ooh, who's going to be the next ones to get into this fight? As we can see, 963 as well as the players here from CONQUEROR having a bit of a back and forth in the woods.
Yeah, as they're slowly making their move on up, it definitely looks like 963 wants to become involved. I mean, why wouldn't they want to try and grab some of these points with the forest? There's just a lot of trees and cover everywhere. CONQUEROR Iraq not taking any chances. Groza instantly tossing out some smokes to get back to the safety of his team. I have a feeling he's going to be able to do so pretty easily. And now that they're inside the compound, I don't know if 960 would continue to be aggressive off of that point, but this is a nice place to be. They're right beside Quarry up in these little buildings here. Usually a really nice, safe place to play that they can stay on for the long time. GK, though, ooh, they're all the way down on the southern side by Cave. Falcons. I would not want to be running into Falcons, but unfortunately for GK, it looks like they have to. There is no choice in this push.
Yeah, I mean, Falcons definitely trying to make a bit of a stand here, trying to increase the lead they've gone on that overall leaderboard even more so. Really, we see that first knock coming through onto the side of GK, but now Falcons looking for that opening. We see Yusuf actually starting to wrap around the opening of Cave. Will this be a good off-angle play potentially coming on in? I mean, the Falcons, they do seem to be a little bit cautious. I can't really blame them. It is, of course, Sanhok after all. A lot of snakes could be lying in the grass. As we can see, Yusuf now just trying to advance their way forward, trying to see if they can find any of these openings. But I mean, also, GK, they just holding their ground. They're not letting go of it just yet.
I mean, they really shouldn't. If they're hoping to kind of hold this position or be able to continue to drop here, they really do have to kind of push off the pushing team, which is Falcons. So they're going to be trying to. A little bit worried since Falcons now kind of has the high ground. GK was chased off of the top here. Yusuf now tossing in a ton of nades. They're just really waiting for one knock. If they get one knock, they can start, and there we go. It looks like it does happen. I was taking a look at that, and each one was getting progressively closer. And now I wouldn't be surprised if they really are motivated to get even closer with the push, and they can do so because taking a look at this zone, they're still inside of it, so this fight can be going on for a while.
Yeah, especially looking at this phase now shifting over on towards, or rather centering up towards Quarry. It is going to be quite the challenging zone, a region rather, for these teams to be fighting in. But here we go, Damar now getting on the Vespa there, trying to travel at light speed, trying to inch their way a little bit closer. But GK still holding their ground, not trying to be the team caught out while trying to disengage from this potential fight. But of course, the Falcons, they're starting to spread themselves out now. They're not sticking around here for far too long.
Probably worrying that maybe GK is making a rotation away, but also Wade, you know, he wants to make sure that his team will be able to find a spot further inside zone. So why not just go ahead and send one person away, find that good location, and kind of hold it for them. The only concern is hopefully Wade doesn't run into an entirely different team, because that is not a good situation to find themselves in. But I feel like Falcons usually do that. They usually leave a couple of people behind to deal with the fight, and they send one person forward to kind of find a place to scout or just look further away or make sure nobody else is kind of encroaching on them, and they can get away with it. For some reason, even with them just being 3 people to take a fight, it's just as effective as if all 4 of them were there. They're just very capable of taking fights together. Their team fighting is just impeccable, basically, from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, some really good synergy coming in there from the Falcons. And of course, now Well, as we look to see what they're going to be doing, the Mud also now getting on that Vespa, looking to push for GEEKAY, still trying to clear the top of the hilltop. But as we can see, Falcons now completely disengaging, looking to rather position themselves out elsewhere. Or the GEEKAY now being caught out. Ooh, and a bit of an interesting play there as we do see a nice little jump coming off of the ledge. Fortunately, no health being lost off of that. But of course, now we wait to see where the rest of the teams are going to be going. Revolution now making their way up on towards boot camp. Smoker about to enter that zone, having a little bit of a splash, a little bit of a swim. A good setup coming in here from Al-Hajj, just ensuring that there's some good defensive play in case someone decided to, tap a few heads or two in their directions. Of course, Rex also not just scanning the vicinity. So a lot of caution coming through, but of course we can see the players there from headquarter just on the opposite end of boot camp. So who knows where these teams are going to be going. Of course, that blue zone is making its way on through. We're going to be waiting to see where that second phase shift is going to be taking us, rather the third phase. But out in the blue, we see the players here from Vibe 6 now, a little bit hesitant with that rotation.
I mean, with only 2 of them left, I kind of said that their gameplay was going to have to change drastically with only 2 people left compared to the usual 4. And one of the things that usually change is duos are usually a little bit slower. They don't have the luxury of being able to quickly start moving into the next zone or trying to find the area that they want, definitely, because they just don't have the manpower to be able to just aggressively state that, hey, this is my territory. So instead, they have to play more passively, a little bit more careful. So that's why they're just waiting for these zones to close. And that way, when they get inside of this next zone, they will hopefully not have to worry about too many people. KAMIKAZE is still inside of Paradise, but honestly, Vibes should be able to kind of sneak on over. And with this next zone shift as well, hopefully they'll just keep on moving. Oh, but unfortunately, it looks like they'll have to keep moving down to the south, where the majority of these teams actually already occupy. I'm a little bit worried for all these teams to the north. This is going to be a difficult rotation to get in.
Yeah, I especially see quite a bit of pressure coming onto the players there from Stalwart as they're holding that angle in almost center zone, but also it is west of the quarries. We can see a lot of teams in the surrounding area, but also we've got the players there from Black Cobra looking to push up from that southern side, still sticking to that coastal line, not pushing all the way through just yet. But of course, GEEKAY is also positioned right there alongside them. Meanwhile, up in the north, we see the team here from headquarters now looking to move a little bit further forward. Octan holding the angle here. Aziz could get spotted out, but Octan now could possibly be outnumbered. But I'm liking this play coming in from Triple D. I mean, they're not spread out entirely. We can see that reinforcements now starting to move on through. Good engagement coming in from Octan. Oh, beautiful trade-off. But now the pressure is on the element of surprise kind of going right out the window.
He almost ended up getting 2 knocked. That's definitely why he went for it. You can see Aziz here, super low HP, instantly laying prone. Triple D, the rest of them just pushing on in. I'm a little bit worried because they don't really have the knowledge that Octan had on where the rest of them are, but it doesn't matter. Here comes Fox, spotting on another person. Oh no, the res came through. He's not in a good spot whatsoever. They need to be pushing together.
Oh, but here we go. Triple D not going to let this one slide just yet. They're looking to push on forward. Fox goes down. It is now down to Ali and 6 Roxon to try and make the stand. Of course, now headquarter reduced down to Welly. Oh, up comes a little bit of an aggressive push. Are they going to be able to pull this one off? The shots come through, and with that, headquarters gets sent right on away. Triple D, I rock. Finding 4 elims. Man, what a beautiful play that was.
It really was, especially because once again, Triple D, they're the next team that's kind of towards the bottom of that leaderboard. So they really needed this fight to work out, and I was a little bit scared for a while there, but they did that pretty well. They only lost 1 person, which is Fox. That's an unfortunate loss, but 3 of them still alive is still doable to play the rest of the game. You can also see KAMIKAZE, though. They ended up making a lot of noise. Are we surprised to see somebody trying to push towards the fight? No, because that's what Sanhok does. But Triple D, they have to go ahead and continue to get ready, just in case KAMIKAZE is going to come any closer, and that made me a little nervous. I'm like, Octan better not run any further, otherwise he's gonna get what is the word I'm looking for? Karma, because he was the one that was hiding, and now the other one's hiding in this situation.
Yeah, and that is definitely not what we want to see. But of course, now KAMIKAZE, they can't resist the temptation They want to get up into a potential vulnerable play for the side here of Triple D. And again, we do see that spread coming in from the side there of KAMIKAZE. They've got one player position up towards the north, two over on towards the eastern side. Then, of course, Kante coming in, just trying to wrap around those compounds, also trying to catch up with the zoners. We can see that next shift now sticking to the side of Quarry. And this is... Oh, Span, this is going to be a really tough one. I mean, like, getting into the bowl of Quarry is easy. The problem lies in getting out of there.
Definitely. Especially any teams that decide to stay out of it. Like, they could just go on ahead and look on down and just basically be shooting fish in a barrel, you know? So, all these teams, they're going to want to stay out of the inside of Quarry for as long as possible. But obviously, there's not enough space to go ahead and do that. So, this is definitely the quote-unquote next kill zone. All these teams are going to be fighting for these top positions outside of the inside of Quarry. So... they're going to have to fight it out, and we're just starting here with, once again, KAMIKAZE and Triple D. Unfortunately for Grizzly, he goes down.
Yeah, but no surprise to see the knock actually finding its way on towards the side there of Six Rocks. And I mean, KAMIKAZE, they just utilizing their numbers so well here as they take that spread, they push on forward, they clear out as they move in. And of course now they need to get their butts in because Blue Zone is making its way up. They still have about 120 or so odd meters to try and cover before Blue Zone catches up with them. But they're not out of the woods just yet. They still have one or two of the players coming in there, holding up alongside them for the side of Triple D. Of course, Clear Vision positioned much further away, also now looking to just clear their pathway back up into a strong position in the zone. You can see GEEKAY and a lot of the teams, even Vibe 6 now, just all rushing their way in. But this is where things are going to get so tight and relatively uncomfortable.
Oh, and it looks like, unfortunately, Vibe 6 losing yet another person as they're driving on by. Two of them still alive, though, honestly. Like I said, we already knew that as they had two people left, they were going to be a little bit more passive, but I feel like that's going out the window right now. What is happening? They're just driving on through, shooting at anything. They just need to choose a place to play out of and be careful because everything else is already taken. Mana goes down. I guess they found some rocks to play out of. Got to be careful, though, because Stalwart and Triple D are around them.
Yeah, but this whole position kind of in towards Quarry is almost a first come, first serve. Team that is able to move in, get themselves fortified in a good position, could really see the benefits being reaped off of that. Of course, now we look at the players here from Stalwart, now just scanning the hilltops, trying to find those angles. Of course, Vibe 6 getting eliminated, but up comes the team now looking to see if they can clear this out. But sheer carnage now erupting all across the map.
Oh, yeah, that was a huge nade coming in from Vankid there with that one nade taking out the rest of Vibes. Now spotting out another team pushing in from the blue zone. They have a really good opportunity to get a lot of kills from people moving around them, but unfortunately, they now have to figure out how to move to the east as well because this is a hard eastern shift. For Kurdistan goes down as well. Big fight happening up here. We knew that the fight up on the north was going to happen, and oh no, blue zone is going to strike again. This doesn't look good for KAMIKAZE either. Only one person currently up for now.
Oh, definitely quite a bit of a challenge, of course, as you pointed out, that eastern shift moving up beautifully in favor of the players there of 1 million esports. But look at the carnage up in the blue, the kill feed rather, as it just keeps on ticking away one after the other. Of course, now Revolution forced to make a play in the blue. It is now up to Smoker, but of course, if you can see, he's got a ton of bandages to try and utilize. But as we get into these later phases, the bandages just won't be cutting it. You're going to have to utilize those med kits. Of course, now slow, steady tap coming through on to Triple D. Up comes Rex, trying to creep in behind them. Blue zone now continuing to move on forward. A quick utility getting sent out, trying to find its way in. A few cheeky shots comes in, but with that, of course, now Rio picks up Rex in the exchange. Beautiful play coming through from the side there of CONQUEROR. But of course, now the teams still have to make that push in. And CONQUEROR and 1 million just capitalizing on the opposite end of that quarry.
CONQUEROR being able to clean up those other teams across, that is definitely a nice situation for them. Look at that, 7 kills for themselves already because they were paying attention to all the fights happening around them. The zone once again going down to the south, and they have a plan. They're sending their vehicles down inside of Quarry finally to provide themselves a little bit of cover and get just to the edge of this next zone. Looks like Revolution won't be able to try to do that though. They'll be the next team eliminated. I think there's only like 2 teams and even close to this next zone. I don't think there's anybody be really inside of it for right now.
Yeah, it does seem like it is going to be Conqueror and, of course, Toulouse coming in there from the side of 1 million. But 1 million are also focusing their efforts onto the side here of 963 Egypt. As you can see, the teams now starting to drop like flies. We are down to only 5 remaining teams to try and clear it out, trying to get up in it towards that winner chicken dinner. 1 million Esports. So you can see Zakaria now trying to quickly apply a few of those meds before rushing forward, knowing what dangers lie up ahead. But look at the shots. 963 Egypt coming in from the side. But of course now Conqueror Iraq rather, turning their attention right towards them. And this is just going to be a continuous back and forth picking going on here.
Not a good situation whatsoever. We can see the 963 now in a little bit of a difficult spot. We can see that 1 million Esports slowly bleeding out. Conquer Iraq, a great spot, honestly, to hold people out. That's what they're trying to do. They've already done that already. That's how they have so many kills. And they have a spot just inside zone. It's still these two teams down to the southern side that do technically have the better position, but now that there is two teams to the south, they're going to be taking each other out, and that'll just give the opportunity for Conquer Iraq to finish it up.
Of course, now 1 million Esports trying to show some dominance here as they just picking off players left and right. Of course, Falcons still in the mix, coming in from that southeastern side. But with that 963, Egypt gets eliminated. It is now down to Falcons, Conqueror, as well as 1 million. But of course, Conqueror still rocking a full squad as they're now just trying to get those numbers back up into fighting form. But Falcons not going to make it too easy for them as they continuously looking to apply the pressure.
1 million Esports does have the advantage, though. It's Falcons that has to run out into the open to even try to get inside this next zone. A big road in front of them. Ooh, some nice damage coming through. Nice use of utility as well. Those smokes should have provided them a nice entryway, actually, into this next zone. But, of course, Conquer will be able to get a knock onto one, and it looks like a flush. So, Yusuf, the last one up for Falcons, he's going to have to play this a little bit carefully, but he might just be able to do something here. Now, as 1 million Esports is getting pushed by Conqueror Iraq.
Oh, up they come, moving in for the kill. Conqueror having full numbers as they move on in. Groza does get taken right on down. Oh, beautiful trade-off coming in. 1 million Esports not going to be letting them slide on through just yet. Galaga now on the off angle, trying to make this play, but up comes a beautiful grenade from the side there of Yusuf. Falcons not out just yet. It's still just reminding the teams up ahead who is here. With that, we are now down to only 5 remaining players. 2 for the side of Conqueror, 2 for the side of 1 million. And then, of course, Yusuf there for the side of Falcons. But the zone now shifting right up in favor of Conqueror. So 1 million and poor old Yusuf there, they're going to have quite a challenge trying to regain some ground in the zone.
And I have to say, I like the split that Conqueror is doing right now, right? They're watching both sides before the people are coming in. I am just a little bit worried because that's basically them admitting, or, you know, they have to go ahead and be fighting 2 teams. So Riva, he's going to have to be playing a 1v2 against the 1 million Esports, and Kalaga, he's going to be having to watch for Yusuf from Falcons. And kind of splitting your attention like that isn't always a recipe for success. But Riva, being able to kind of push around this rock, it looks like he will be able to get a knock on a 1 million Esports now kind of committing to the blue zone. I'm surprised Yusuf hasn't stood up just yet, but it's because he's actually taken out by Kalaga. 1 person left, and that's it. Conquer. That was a great game for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Conqueror is now stepping up, wanting to prove themselves, and they surely delivered. I mean, looking back at yesterday's Sanhok, they finished off in 13th place, coming in with only 1 elim. Now, this time around, completely turning the table around, coming in with such a strong finish. And that, of course, is what we've been waiting to see. We had that happening over on Erangel. Now, we see that happening right here on Sanhok as well. So, absolutely fantastic day 2 for a lot of these teams, and I'm so excited to see what the remainder of our matches will have in store. But of course, we are going to be firstly jumping in to those match standings to see how many points the teams were able to bring in after that. And of course, Conquer Iraq finishing with those 12 elims to their name, putting them on a grand total of 27. But of course, 1 million Esports and Team Falcons there putting in a really valiant effort, finishing on 7 elims apiece, putting them up on 19 and 17 points respectively.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at the very end there, I couldn't really tell who was going to take that one. Conqueror Iraq, 1 million Esports, or Team Falcons, because there was a 2-2-2 situation there. I mean, Falcons, as a solo, he could have gone on ahead and kind of taken advantage while the other two teams were fighting. But Conqueror Iraq really, honestly, being effective with their split there, I was nervous about it, but it ended up working. So 1 million Esports, I guess they just need to be a little bit more active in trying to push at least one of them. But I mean, it's super hard decisions, especially in a late game such as that, especially since Yusuf was in the position to kind of mess them up. That was a great end game. And of course, these teams on the second page of our leaderboard only getting a max of 5 points here from Triple D Iraq. That is not the ending that they obviously want. Again, a couple of these teams that we've been keeping an eye on, like Clear Vision Esports, Black Cobra, Rod Revolution for Kurdistan, those teams usually have been doing pretty well. So I guess this really is an opportunity for those teams lower on the leaderboard to be catching up to them.
Yeah, but I mean, I just want to point out there, like Triple D Iraq, as well as the players coming in from the side there of there was another team just alongside them. I forgot the name entirely now. But of course, what I wanted to say is that we did see a really good improvement with regards to those kill points coming in. They definitely found several more elims, but unfortunately, placement points not really working out this time around.
And let's take a look at those overalls as well before we send it on over to a break, because we're already going to see some nice movement already just after the second game. We're going to be sending it over into Erangel next, but Falcons holding on to that first place position with 129 Revolution, and Clear Vision Esports seem to be holding on to the second and third place as well. Conquer Iraq, there we go, in fourth place with the 58 points. That's the team that just won our last game. 1 million Esports, honestly, right behind them as well in sixth place. They're really doing well for themselves, still being consistent with the teams that they're able, with the points that they're able to gain.
Yeah, definitely some great consistency coming through from a lot of the players here. Of course, I mean, 963 still just holding on there. They are so close. But of course, we do see the players there from the ult now, just 1 point up ahead of them. So this is really good and healthy, I believe, for a lot of these teams. But of course, now we are going to be having a look at that second page as well.
Ooh, and it looks like Triple D Iraq was a team that went on ahead and needed to gain some points in that 16th place currently, 22 points. They need to continue to do well. Same with Vibe 6, a complete change starting from yesterday's first match, now in 15th place with 28. It's these teams towards the bottom that really need to go on ahead and find themselves a big game, because, I mean, a big game will go on ahead and just set them on the right path immediately, because all these points, it seems kind of far away, but just one really amazing, just absolutely mind-blowing game will go on ahead and launch them right back into the place they want to be.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and as we saw already from the performances in the first two matches, it is not something that is out of the realm of possibility, as the teams can step up at any point, just bring an absolutely banger game to the back, and that will of course see them shoot themselves up that leaderboard. But of course, next up is going to be a little bit of that Erangel action. Hello and welcome back to the PUBG Mobile Pro League Arabia Qualifiers for Season 3. My name is GEEKAY, with me is SpanKarga. Now, Span, we've been seeing some pretty hard action coming in over these past two matches. I mean, just looking at Sanhok, it was absolutely on fire.
It was, and it was with some teams that once again need to be getting the points to try and get into the top 8 to qualify. So there are, of course, some other teams that are definitely okay in terms of points as of right now, such as the Falcons ended up getting in that third place position. But seeing these other teams kind of be rising up and making sure that they're at least attempting to try and get into that 8th place position, it's really nice to see. And going into this next match, we're once again on Erangel, as you already said. I don't know what to expect because our first Erangel game was so different in terms of people who were alive at the end. I feel like it really kind of comes down to where the zone shows up at this point because all these teams definitely are used to or capable of going on ahead and staying alive until late game. I really think that maybe where the zone goes really influences who's going to go on ahead and do well.
But I think what also plays a big role in that is how the teams are able to kind of read where the zone could potentially be going and how to best reposition themselves within that. I mean, yes, we do see the zone at times favoring teams. Like, for instance, near the end of the Sanhok map, we saw the players there from 1 million being in a really strong position, holding that high ground. But then we had this influx of teams just pushing in and really challenging them for that controlling position in the zone itself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really believe in zone favoring, but teams should usually be able to identify, oh, what's the best place that I should be in for this next zone shift and that kind of thing. Usually, I really like to see when teams kind of put themselves in more of a, I guess, a defensive place when they choose a specific class to play. What I mean by defensive spot is, if there's a 50-50 chance of where this next zone's going to go, they're going ahead and place themselves somewhere in the middle that where they have an obvious avenue to go on ahead and go to where the next zone is going to shift. So I guess what I'm saying is there are some teams that clearly are able to get themselves out of some sticky situations and get into a better space, be it making a rotation or fighting a team to kind of get that spot, but there isn't I feel like there isn't a specific team that can definitely get out of any situation that they found themselves in. There's definitely the teams that get the zone that end up really being able to shine. So coming to this next Erangel, I do think I'm waiting to see where this first circle is going to go, basically.
Yeah, for me, I'm quite excited to see what is going to be coming from the side of 963 Egypt, as well as the players there from Stalwart, as we saw a really, really crazy play coming in from them off of that first map, coming in with 13 elims apiece. But of course, as we saw yesterday, first match was something. And then, of course, as we progressed through the day, we had different teams, of course, stepping up. So I'm hoping to see a little bit more of that consistency coming through. Teams building up momentum and then being able to maintain that momentum, not for short bursts, but potentially trying to push through as many of these matches as they possibly can. And what really makes it so much easier for them is the fact that we've got a nice balance of these 3 Erangel maps for them to make use of. But of course, speaking of which, we are going to be hopping onto the plane momentarily to see where that first zone is going to be coming in, as well as the flight path. And this time around, it does seem like we are a little bit more centered up towards the northern section, with this time Stalwart being on our right-hand sides. And of course, we do see the lovely Yasnaya just down below. So almost a very similar kind of approach to what we had in our second visit on Erangel yesterday. Also a little bit more of a centralized flight path.
Yeah, I was going to say, once again, over the main body of Erangel, all these teams should, again, be able to go to the drop spots that they want to go. Not as hard as the last couple of zones that we've had. And again, I'm just curious to see where the first zone's going to shift. I feel like on Erangel, all these teams are definitely comfortable in terms of whatever the plane path is going to be. I haven't really seen any difficulties when it comes to that, but the difficulties I have seen are those rotations when the first zone goes on ahead and pops, especially when it comes to those teams, specifically Team Revolution trying to leave a military base island. I feel like both of these bridges that they try, of course, to utilize to actually get to the mainland usually has a team kind of staying on it, waiting for Revolution to get across. So I feel like that's a challenge that they're going to have to kind of try to overcome. But in this game right now, we'll have to wait and see if they even attempt to go to Military Island based off of where this plane path is.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell where exactly it is that these teams are going to be heading off into. Of course, we're going to be waiting to see where that first zone is going to be appearing. It happened over on towards that southeastern side this time around, changing things over to very similar of kind of shift that we had in our first match of yesterday over on towards this western side. And already a good concentration of teams situated here and some really interesting positions also. You can see the teams making their ways on up towards. But now the question comes in as to what are these teams looking to be doing in this first initial phases. We know yesterday we ended up fairly close to that kind of quarry finish. But this time around, do you think we're going to be seeing a very similar kind of finish to this phase?
You know, I'll say that it's really difficult to kind of guess where the zone's going to go until at least the second zone. This first zone, it can seriously still go anywhere. Usually, right when that second zone pops, that's usually where the IGLs have a little bit more of an idea of, I think the zone is going to end around in this area, like it usually does, kind of thing. So, right now, kind of hard to say. I mean, I would be more comfortable making that kind of guess on the second pop because, that's what I'm used to. I used to be an IGL, but I don't know, basically, is what I'm saying. So I like to see vibes currently in the very center of this zone, as spread out as they are, because clearly they want to go ahead and get as much loot as possible. But then no matter where the second zone pops, they should have somebody close to it or in it, and then they can just all move from there and gain information.
Yeah. So again, it is going to come down to how they try and set themselves up for the coming few phases. But for the time being, of course, it is going to be that looting phase. So I think for this one, I'm curious to see whether or not we're going to have a continuation of what we had in that first match where the teams that were situated a little bit lower on the leaderboard stepped up and just kind of brought it all with them. Or are we going to see another dominating play coming through from the Falcons? Because we know in this match yesterday, this was the map in which the Falcons pulled off that 14 elim play. And absolutely fantastic stuff. Good show of aggression coming in from them. But do you think it's something that is that they'll be able to replicate moving into this match once again?
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, they ended up doing really well in the last match. Just all of yesterday, honestly, Falcons just slowly got better as each match went by. This time, I think they did start a little bit slower in that the first match, we didn't really see the Falcons. The second game, though, they did end up getting third. So I have a feeling that they are going to increase in their performance just like they did yesterday. But I don't know if it's going to increase like it did yesterday since they're already kind of starting a step behind. We'll have to wait and see, though. Clearly, they have some talent when it comes to playing on Erangel, and hopefully they'll be able to traverse to try and get that chicken dinner again. And if they do, they're definitely going to be the team that has the most chickens. They already are, but let's see if they can get to 3.
Yeah, of course. So we're also going to be, well, I'm personally going to be hoping for a bit of a better luck for the players coming in from the side there of GEEKAY, as we do see them still positioned relatively low on that overall leaderboard. But there's no better opportunity than right now for them to step up, to bring that improvement along with them. And of course, this is one of the other teams we're going to be looking at, the Falcons here up in towards Yasnaya. Doesn't seem like they are really contested for this position whatsoever. They can just go about their business. And a very similar kind of setup over in towards Malta as well, as we can see the players here from the Ultimate making their way around. We got Ragnar, Hope, and the rest of the team now just going about this looting phase. And it's always so interesting for me to kind of see the setup that the players decide to go for, looking at what they have available and what they can find. The weapon choice is always a interesting one for me.
Yeah, I mean, people definitely have their preferences. We've definitely just seen a wild array. I mean, for example, absolutely destructive. I mean, the DP, everybody just has the kind of gun that they like to play. And the longer that they're able to loot, kind of have that luxury of looting, the more chance that they'll be able to get the gun that they definitely want to play out of. But again, that's a balance. Are you going to stay and loot longer so you definitely get all the meds, util, guns that you want? Or are you going to leave early and try and get yourself a better position?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where the balance lies. And we see teams taking kind of both approaches at times. You've got teams that are focusing a little bit more on the looting side, other teams that are focusing more on the positional side of that, kind of let's call it a scale. And it does have its advantages whichever way you go, but also with that comes a few disadvantages. If you do tend to spend a little bit more time on the looting phase, Ideally, I think it would be something that's more beneficial if your looting spot was, already positioned within the safe zone. Then you don't have too
Mhm.
much to worry about. You don't have to worry too much about trying to get that good rotation or good position to potentially fight from, essentially in this first phase. But of course, now speaking about rotations, we do have the players here from Black Cobra. Now, it's still just exploring their region as they move up from compound to compound, but we can also see Vibe 6 just over on towards that western side.
Yeah, everybody's just trying to get inside the zone at this point, though. Vibe 6, they're definitely sending it on in at this point. Looks like Azrael kind of leading it for right now. And I love this compound. This compound is literally the best, in my opinion, when I played. So Vibe 6, Azrael, it's nice of them to kind of drive by, see that it's open, protect the vehicles by driving into the garage, and that is theirs. They got the advantage of being able to leave a little bit earlier. They weren't that far away, so they got to leave earlier after looting on up. And now we'll just have to wait and see how everybody else is going to be placing themselves around here. Also, in the kill feed, looks like we had Triple D starting a fight with somebody else. Couldn't quite catch it. So it looks like there's already some issues when it comes to rotating in this first circle.
Yeah, that is going to be the place from Triple D, and clear vision right up here in towards the lovely container yard, as we can see Oliver now getting confirmed right on down with that clear vision now reduced down to only 2 players. We can see Marley trying to make a bit of a run there, and again, this is a good start off for the players here of Triple D, as they're also one of those teams we are hoping to see advance up the leaderboard.
And we'll have to see how they're going to go about getting in this next zone. Of course, first you gotta go on ahead and grab all the loot that they want. Now they're kind of following the rest of that team in their footsteps, though. So we'll see if they're able to find themselves a nice play to play out of. If they literally follow the team right behind them, maybe they'll be able to take out the other 2, because now they have that advantage. But we'll see where any of these guys are going, because again, teams usually have their preferences in both rotations and places that they play out of, but it just depends on if they're able to get it or not. So seems like for Kurdistan and Rod grabbing some buildings really close by to GEEKAY here. And in GEEKAY, man, I'm just so excited to play in here. I feel like GEEKAY endings are usually really interesting, especially because of the usage of the huge field. It's really difficult for some teams, so I'm interested to see who's going to get in here first, basically.
Yeah, and now we see that pressure being applied up in towards the north as the players there from KAMIKAZE and the Falcons find themselves both now trying to rotate up into zone, bumping into each other. Of course, a beautiful trade-off coming from both sides, but the zone now moving even further down towards that southern side. So definitely the field is still going to be in play, but this, again, looks very similar to what we had just yesterday, with the zone centering up a little bit more towards that quarry side.
Yeah, this is going to be a hard zone to kind of figure out where to play out of as well, because I love it down here in that the terrain is so different. There are multiple fields. There is the quarry with multiple hills. There are literally hills and mountains, a bunch of compounds to play out of. So it's like half and half out in the open, but also really like hardcover playable areas. And no matter where these next zones are going to go, it's just going to be a huge mixture of that. And teams are going to have to figure out the best way to traverse the environment and take fights to be able to stay alive.
Yeah, and again, a big point of contention coming in towards that quarry region, as we saw so many teams up on the map just jamming themselves and cramming up in towards that area. But of course, now just a little bit further north of that, we can see the players here from Triple D as well as Cobra, all now trying to make their way on through. Black Cobra, of course, now holding an angle up on the high ground, just ripping away as Triple D Iraq is trying to rotate on through. But this is going to be the situation for a little while, as we do see several hits now starting to find their way on through. Of course, now Madlol trying to find a little bit of closure. As we can see 6 rocks in up ahead. Fox managing to pull up into some of that hard cover. But this is going to be a really challenging play, as you've mentioned. There's quite a few hills, quite a few mountains in this area to make use of, but also a beautiful open field. And sometimes it could be quite a treacherous point for these teams to try and rotate through.
That's why Black Cobra, honestly, being up on top of this little hill here, I like that Matt LOL decided to be up here, because from here, he's going to be getting a ton of information for his team. I mean, his team is right above him to the northeastern side in that compound. In there, it's kind of hard to see anything. You're kind of in a little bit of a ball. You can only see the people rotating that literally drive right on by. So having one person up above will really be able to get them a lot more options in terms of being able to get more information and also even make a rotation up that hill. It also looks like on the southern side, though, CONQUEROR Iraq ended up being able to grab this compound. It looks like before our next team was able to grab it, and now headquarters are suffering because of it. Both Rip and Aziz is currently down, and it looks like Kalaga is actually starting to make a move on it.
Yeah, and now it's up to Willie to try and get that res up as the pressure's definitely coming in from the side here of CONQUEROR. As we can see Rio already now picking up to confirm right on towards Rip. Now it is up to Willie and Aziz as that res comes through. Quick disengage there as they head a little bit further down south, trying to pull up in towards Ferry Pier for a little bit more safety. But we know there's so many teams in the vicinity here. They need to be so careful when it comes to those rotations, because you might be moving away from one team, but instead rotating up into several others right up ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll have to be really careful. It looks like GK, oh no, didn't quite scout this out. They're running straight into Falcons, but it doesn't matter because Miramar goes down. The Falcons are super split.
Oh, could this be a costly play for them? Of course, we've got Never Alone and Yusuf now positioned on the north and the southern side, and this could be a beautiful play now actually for GEEKAY to come on through. But yes, wow indeed, as the zone now shifts over towards that western bridge, completely moving away from the quarry regions. We can see a lot of teams already in anticipation, so kind of trying to set themselves up in and around quarry, but now they all have to try and relocate to get into the safety of the next phase.
Absolutely disgusting. When a hard shift like that happens, usually you see everybody jump into their vehicles and just start sending it. All these teams, even on the complete opposite side of the zone, like GK, like Falcons, you can see Falcons are actually just driving away from this. They don't want revenge, because taking a look at what this next zone win, they're like, we don't have time for that. We need to go on ahead and start getting towards the zone, because otherwise this is horrible. Ra'ad looks like they got a knock into KAMIKAZE, and they're just full on pushing it. Ra'ad, this is a nice show of kind of aggression here, but they really should have pushed together.
Ooh, there we go. Nice trade-off coming in, though, as the hits continue to fly. Delhop getting knocked right on down. We can see Kante and, of course, D7 still up and fighting, holding the defensive line up here. But up comes the utility, trying to find those openings right in towards them. Oh, are they going to be able to succeed? Of course, a lot of smoke grenades now getting deployed all over the places. D7 moves up for the res on towards right on towards his teammates there. But now Aziz about to get rezzed up. There we go. Ready to move. Kante now just quickly repositioning. Ra'ad not knowing exactly where they are, but they have one player on the off angle, as we can see that knock now coming through. So that extra bit of information now getting taken away from the side of Ra'ad.
And it looks like Ra'ad starting to make a little bit of a move around. They realized that they needed to drive over to try and get the res on their teammate. KAMIKAZE wants to go ahead and try and finish it off, though. I like this big rotation coming through from Aziz, actually, trying to catch him off guard, maybe from the side or the back side here, while his teammate D7H continues to push in from the front. Ra'ad at this point are really spread out. I think I saw Nate kind of jumping right on them, but unfortunately not quite accurate enough to get the downs.
Oh, it was a little bit too close for comfort, but of course now we can see Sadat now just trying to get that position. Aziz, of course, still now just bleeding out. With that, blue zone comes in, gets a knock up onto one of the Ra'ad players. Of course, two players seem to be down for the time being. Now D7 and Kante now left to try and make a decision here. As we can see D7H now trying to wrap around over on towards Aziz to try and get that res on in. Ra'ad having the numbers back up again. Are they going to choose to disengage, or are they looking to potentially close this one out? They still have to get their butts back up into that zone. So, you know, blue zone is going to start closing up once again. It's still making its way through the next phase, about to pop. And that only means the damage coming through from blue zone will be increasing. Of course, we can see the damage there on it towards the players from the Falcons over on that southern edge. But of course, the zone now centers up beautifully on towards Ferry Pier. Quite a few heads continuing to fly as we see KAMIKAZE now having full control in their small little region there. So the rest of the teams have moved out. But of course, now the players here from the Ultimate trying to push up onto Revolution.
Revolution starting to toss out some nades. That one not quite hitting. You see Ultimate trying to heal on up. Oh no! Smoker being able to toss a Molotov right through the little window there. Will go ahead and get a knock into him once again. Ultimate's trying really hard to keep all numbers up, but so many teams sharing this one little area inside of Ferry Pier is definitely going to be a challenge. If a fight tries to break out, the other team will just be able to look on over and participate. Even more deaths happening in this kill feed. Looks like KAMIKAZE, oh man, it hurt them too much to be fighting out in that blue zone for too long, so they're going to be taken out. And I know that they even hurt Falcons a lot too, so we'll see if they'll be able to survive. If they do, it's not going to be to their strength though.
We already saw with where the zone had shifted that the teams already find themselves with quite a bit of a reduced playable area, but here we go now. Ooh, the teams now looking to push on up. The Ultimate looking to advance their way out and strengthen their hold up in towards this Ferry Pier region. Revolution still fighting for a little bit of control here, but it does seem like those disengage have come through. Of course, GEEKAY, 1 million, Triple D, and the Falcons now right here on the coastline, trying to see if they can fight it. Oh, but look at that nade, the reach coming in from 1 million. Wow.
I thought that was it, but no, it was not. They're still able to drive away, but still GEEKAY in the end is going to be eliminated by 1 million Esports. 6 kills for themselves so far. They're still slowly making their way on inside of this zone. Next up is the team inside of that compound, I believe. Who is that? Triple D over there. Not in the compound just yet. I think in a little bit of a bowl inside of the beach. So we'll see if 1 million Esports is going to feel comfortable enough to kind of take on that challenge. And oh, well, I was kind of wondering how many people from Falcons were able to survive, and I can see on that mini-map there, I think there's only one, maybe. I think it's just Yusuf left.
Yeah, indeed it is. Only poor old Yusuf left to try and hold on for dear life. But, I mean, I've got to say, I'm quite impressed with the performance coming in from the players here of 1 million Esports. They're looking to make their mark. They've already pushed up that leaderboard, starting the day off over in 12th place, advancing all the way up onto 6th place on the overall standings. And this match so far, 6 elims to their name. They've still got 3 players left up against 12 other teams. This could be a really good match for them, but of course we'll have to wait and see what the zone and the phases have in store for them. Of course, Vibe 6 also looking to make a bit of a comeback. Now positioned down on towards the coastal line here. We did see them coming in with 2 elims in our second Erangel play just yesterday. So far, only 1 on the board for them, but a decent position. I mean, they can cause quite a bit of problems for the opposing teams from this angle.
And you can see that they're taking a lot of pot shots towards the teams right beside them. They can see them down the beach, so why not go ahead and at least try to put some pressure on them? At this point, though, I don't think that they'd be full-out fighting because the zone is about to pop once again, and it depends on where this next zone's going to go. If it doesn't go in that direction, it's not worth fighting, and as you can see here, it doesn't. It decides to go on ahead and pull a little bit more towards the eastern side of the center of this map, and this is kind of a hard situation once again because by that road, it's just completely out in the open. So once again, people are going to have a hard time actually finding a place to be able to effectively play out of. It's just going to be a lot of fighting around the edges.
Yeah, definitely quite a bit of fighting still to come. But now we can see the place here from 1 million getting caught rather all the way. What happened right there? Never mind me. Rami with a beautiful grenade, sending it right on over towards Clear Vision, having them pack their bags and shuffle off back into the lobby. Of course, now Falcons coming under fire as well. Oh, but look at this, 1 million now trying to reach all the way over on towards the players there from Vibe 6. Now, Vibe 6, Triple D, and GEEKAY having quite a bit of work, but still to do. GEEKAY already getting sent away. Triple D, Fox now getting picked up there by Soon from 1 million.
That was a really nice spray, just being able to catch him with those headshots right over that little lip there. But I don't know if his team is going to be able to get that res, especially since no 6 rocks, and he's just driving away at that point, trying to find a place for his team to play. Octon, the last one alive, if I'm not mistaken, now being chased by the rest of 1 million Esports. This is just a really difficult situation for all these teams to be coming out of, especially as a solo. And it looks like, yeah, that's going to be it for Triple D Iraq. Unfortunately, just couldn't keep the numbers up, just super split out. And 1 million Esports making me a little bit nervous because I'm pretty sure that they're going to be making a rotation towards the solo from Falcons.
Yeah, they are going to try whichever way it goes. But here we go now. CONQUEROR Iraq, as well as the players here from Kurdistan, fighting for control of the northern portion of the zone. Of course, we see Rio picking up the nades, sending it across, trying to reach right into their pockets now. 1 knock 90, and Golden trying to push on through. Empire is down, Riva is down for the count as well. Groza and Kalaga now trying to hold up the defensive line on all sides. But up comes for Kurdistan, just inching their way on in, trying to sneak up that quick res. Same, of course, happening on the side here for Conqueror. Iraq, the pressure is definitely on, but look at this Black Cobra now rushing straight on through. Up comes Madlol, instantly getting down by Anaconda as the hits come through. Conqueror Iraq not out of the pressure cooker just yet. They need to now try and cover themselves up. But out comes the Molly as for Gaza, for Kurdistan rather, finds the angle there. Oh, look at the carnage.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard situation for a lot of these teams to kind of get out of. Looks like this northern side isn't over just yet either for Kurdistan. Nice usage of this little plateau here, trying to see the other enemies just below them. Black Cobra will be eliminated in the meantime. This zone even smaller, once again kind of centering around this road, which is the no man's land. Still only fighting on the north and southern side can actually happen in this situation. So let's see, Conquer Iraq currently actually holding the spot. I'm a little bit worried since they're looking down to the southern side, and there's a whole team for Kurdistan kind of approaching from the north.
It is going to be quite a bit of pressure. Oh, come on. Headquarters now trying to deal with 1 million. Up comes the hit. Beautiful trade-off as soon steps up. Gets the first. Will he get the second? Yes, indeed. One man clutch coming in there as 1 million Esports quickly deal with the headquarters as they move straight on through. The solos going absolutely to town here. Even Falcons Yusuf has been causing quite a few problems there, but as you can see now, this is where things are going to get really, really tough. We've got 2 squads still rocking a full team, full lineup. That is going to be for Kurdistan, as well as the players coming in from 963 Egypt. Of course, the players here from the Ultimates, still rocking 3 players, but they have not secured their position within the zone just yet.
I'm a little bit worried about it as well. They're staying down here on the southern side. There's actually three other teams down to the south that are out of the current zone. They're going to have to be running in towards the solo from Falcons. They're just going to be running into each other in general. At this point, if they get in the fight, it might be beneficial for whoever else isn't in it in this area to go ahead and get involved, because how else are they going to ensure that they're going to have a spot to play out of? They need to go ahead and protect it. If you hear people behind you in the zone, you know that you're going to have to deal with them sooner rather than later. So while they're distracted, you might as well deal with them then.
Ooh, but of course the players here from for Kurdistan definitely not distracted. They are swiftly dealing with the threats coming in from all directions as they're focusing their efforts now onto 963 Egypt. We can see, of course, Kalaga there from Conqueror Iraq holding on towards that more centralized position, but he is on the low ground. The shots continuing to fly on through for Kurdistan, looking to clean it up as they move on forward, picking up head after head. But of course, Ra'ad with a great assist coming in there. Nossa goes down, and Anaconda steals the fate with that. Falcons also now getting sent on away. So 963 Egypt as well as Falcons getting eliminated back to back. We are now down to 5 teams. Hope now coming under pressure as Golden trying to find those angles. Oh, look at those hits. Kalaga not out of the play just yet, but now, oh, gets sent right on back as Golden picks up another confirm for the team.
And now if we take a look at this map, this is absolutely insane. I mean, for Kurdistan to assess the entirety of the northern side, look at that. The next one showing itself, still a 50-50 to the north and south. Absolutely disgusting zone, if I do say so myself. But for Kurdistan, they had the luxury of being alone on the northern side. That means they could just wait for Ra'ad and the other teams to go on ahead and get in a big fight. And for Kurdistan, just going ahead and get involved, clean it all up. So we'll have to see who's going to come out on top, though. Ultimate, Revolution, or Ra'ad. All 3 choices are pretty hard, but wait a second. For Kurdistan, they're not even going to be waiting. They're going to send some people over towards Ra'ad.
Yeah, they're not going to be waiting for the threat to come to them. They're going to be pushing right on up. As you can see, Desha here from Ra'ad now trying to reach all the way across that road. But of course, now 1 knock 90 is going to be trying to provide a little bit of that cover fire. Desha tapping away at Golden, gets the knock. 1 knock 90 now right there for a little bit of reinforcement. But now it's going to come down to Delharp and Desha for the side here of Ra'ad. We also have QHT as well as Smoker for Revolution. The Utils now getting sent on out. Here we go. Oh, beautiful play as QHT picks up Desha. The pressure definitely still on, still pretty high. But will Delhop be able to secure the play right here? Revolution now looking to push on through. Blue Zone is moving up. Down goes Smoker. QHC and Delhop. Oh, the hits come through and down they go. QHC picks up the final hit to send Raad right back in.
Oh,
but of
wow.
course, for Kurdistan, reign supreme, closing up a very beautiful match. And what a finish that was for them right there.
I was a little bit worried. They had the entire northern side to themselves and them sending 2 people over to get a little bit closer to Ra'ad. I'm like, oh no, I'm a little bit worried. They're going to be split. There's knocks on both sides. I was getting a little bit scared, but them being able to go on ahead and win it in the end is absolutely huge for them. And it wasn't actually a concern in the end. So it's probably a good thing that they went on ahead and sent somebody over, because I thought they had more cover on the north, but really it was just a big open slope for them. So for Kurdistan, recognizing that and being able to find a spot across the road was absolutely huge.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a turning point for the team there for Kurdistan. I mean, if they had not done that, we would have seen a lot more casualties coming their way, as it was just so many teams, so many opposing teams still positioned down on towards that southern side. So well played for the players there for Kurdistan. But of course, now we are going to be having a look at our match rankings. We can see, of course, for Kurdistan coming in with a lovely 24 points to their name. The Ultimates also hitting pretty heavily, coming in with 18 points. Then, of course, we've got Revolution and Ra'ad hot on the heels. But 1 million really doing quite a bit of work here. Not getting the best placement points, but definitely getting a really strong amount of eliminations.
I mean, definitely. They seem to be fighting almost that entire game. So picking up 9 kills, not surprised to see that. You're right. I do wish that they ended up being able to stay alive a little bit longer and got more placement points, but that's the kind of gamble. If you're going to go on ahead and be super aggressive, you kind of have to recognize I might die earlier than I would if I was kind of taking a little bit more of a chill approach to getting these kills. But even Team Falcons, got to say, a little bit surprised that they're able to make it onto the 7th page with 5 total points, because they were definitely struggling this whole time. So that means the 2nd page, I don't even know how many points that they're going to be able to pick up. So let's go ahead and take a look. And it looks like still the minimal amount of points across the board. Headquarter, Triple D Iraq, each with 4, 3 for Black Cobras, GK, 2 for 5-6 Kamikaze, and then unfortunately zeros. Looks like Clear Vision, Esports, Stalwart are both having a little bit of a harder time again.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a tough play for the side there of Clear Vision. Of course, we know that they were positioned up in that 3rd place, but we don't know for how much longer they'll be able to hold on, as the teams positioned below them on the overall rankings are really bringing the A game to the table. And of course, now we're going to be hopping straight on into the overall standings to see what the current situation is. Team Falcons, of course, still holding on to pole position, but a beautiful jump coming in there for Kurdistan, advancing all the way from 5th place up into that 3rd place. So this chicken really doing favorable things there for them. Of course, CONQUEROR Iraq still holding strong there, but also the Ultimates jumping up. We saw them in 7th place. Now we find them up in 5th. And of course, Clear Vision getting pushed all the way down into that 6th position.
I'd also like to point out both Team Falcons and for Kurdistan now each have 2 chicken dinners. So they're up there towards the top. I need to see other people going ahead and grab some chickens. Revolution with 0. They're still in 2nd place though. Let's take a look at the 2nd page as well. Ra'ad right now with 57 points. The cutoff 963. Egypt with 53. That is not a big gap whatsoever. Even below that 47, 46, 46, 41. Like, still getting into that 8th place position, there's still not that big of a gap to completely solidify the positionings to getting into the qualifying range.
Yeah, and I'm still looking to see when we're gonna have the players there from headquarter, GEEKAY, Vibe 6, and Triple D Iraq stepping up, because things are still pretty close. They can still make enough of a difference to advance themselves high up enough on the overall rankings to make a bit of an impact coming into tomorrow's games. But of course, with that, we are going to be having to jump into a quick break as we prep ourselves for a little bit of that Miramar action once again. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you guys back in a short few moments.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Arabia Qualifiers. We have now officially completed 3 out of our 5 games today, and we're about to be going into Miramar once again. So, reminder, there's only 1 Miramar per day. This is only a 3-day event, so we only had 1 Miramar yesterday, and we're only going to have 1 Miramar today. So that means we don't really know what's going to happen when it comes to Miramar games. It's kind of a quote from what Glitter Explosion had when I last worked with her. It's kind of a wild card game, but let's jump right on in and see just how the playing path is going to be going. Because last time we had a game like this on Miramar, we ended up having for Kurdistan win, and Falcons get second place, KAMIKAZE in third, and CONQUEROR in fourth. And that is just, that is very different. For Kurdistan ended up winning our last match, so will they be able to go ahead and do it again, basically? Based off of this playing path, it's a little disgusting, though, so we'll have to wait and see. Very southern playing path. That means a lot of people are going to be very grouped up together, but hopefully they'll be able to spread out just as they were successfully able to last time. I'm actually excited to see this a little bit more towards the western side, because DK yesterday on Miramar, it wasn't towards the west whatsoever. So I'm a little bit hoping that's going to be going over there this time. We had 2 Pozo teams yesterday as well. Maybe now we'll actually see them fight.
Well, only time will tell, Span. I mean, it could be quite interesting to see where they're going to be going. But yeah, I have to agree with you. This zone is looking a little bit on the disgusting side, the flight path rather. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe the zone itself sweetens things up a little tad bit, but of course, yeah, we'll have to wait until the flight path kind of dissipates and we see what that zone will bring. But already a good chunk of teams already starting to move on through. We've got a nice concentration of teams sitting over on towards the southeastern side, with the remainder of them kind of starting to move on up. But there we go. I think that's kind of like a nice cherry on top almost. Not that it's really a cherry, but it's a nice consolation prize almost.
I mean, this zone, yeah, not that bad, honestly. A lot of these teams are going to be able to have a nice rotation into it. I have to say, though, looking at the very beginning of where this playing path was, Los Leones has 2 teams right on top of each other, and I'm a little bit worried for one of them. Stalwart seems to be very separated in comparison to the other team that's in there with them, so if they're not careful, that might be a big sweep coming through, because if a 4-man starts slowly picking you down one by one, that's going to hurt a lot. So one of these teams need to get out of Los Leones as soon as possible. And just as we said, 2 teams did get to Pozo yesterday. They had to drive there, though, so there wasn't that much fighting, but this time they got to drop there. I want to see them fight for it, though. We haven't seen any action just yet, though, as people have just landed.
Well, there's 2, possibly maybe 3, depending, of course, on where Ra'ad are going to be finding themselves. But for the time being, we can see over in towards Picado, things are looking a little bit more relaxed, right? Of course, the players here from Triple D making their way on through. We do have another team over on towards that western side, but it doesn't seem to be any imminent threats just yet. So over here, they can relax for the time being. But of course, if we look over on towards, that Pozo side, this is where now we see the players from KAMIKAZE also just making their way on through. They do have another team right here with them. But again, there's enough space for both teams to go through their looting phase without necessarily bumping heads just yet. But ideally for GEEKAY, this could be a good opportunity to potentially maybe try and pick up a few more elims along the way.
We'll have to wait and see. Both these teams at this point, I mean, don't get me wrong, KAMIKAZE is doing well so far. Both these teams need to go ahead and do better, though. I hate to say it, but they do need to go ahead and achieve a little bit more points. So it's up to them, I guess, whether or not they want to get in an early fight. There are definitely downsides. Early fight means they're not going to be able to rotate as fast, and they'll hopefully have all of the loot that they need to actually start the fight effectively. But honestly, if they start the fight now, if they're in need of kills badly, they should start it now, because that means this zone is already so big, there shouldn't really be anybody around to kind of third party or kind of mess them up. So kind of something to weigh back and forth for them to decide whether or not to engage.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a decision for them to try and make. And I mean, for the time being, it is relatively calm and collected across the majority of this map. We haven't seen many hits come through. Everyone still has their full squads all across the board. But now, as we draw closer and closer to the second phase coming through, of course, we're going to see where that shift is going to be taking us. And then it is all that blue zone that's going to be starting to move on, enforcing the team's hands. But looking at, for instance, the players here from Black Cobra, they are still some distance away, just over 1.2 kilometers or so. So it is definitely a little bit of distance for them to still try and cover to get into that safety zone. But on Miramar, you can afford to ride the blue up until about that third, potentially the fourth phase. So you can delay those rotations even a little while longer. So I'm curious to see how these teams are going to try and find their ways in trying to nestle themselves into a decent position in this next phase.
Yeah, I've time to wait and see. The big rotations are very important, especially into this initial one. Where this zone is right now, there's a lot of places for teams to kind of pick over, fight about whatever spot that they want. There's definitely more than enough locations for teams to pick and choose from. It's just a matter of, I guess, kind of putting that defensive gameplay, that defensive positioning, as I called it last match, the defensive positioning, putting yourself in the best position no matter where this next zone will go. And of course, putting yourself in a spot where you are able to pay attention to the rest of the zone and kind of get information on everybody else around you. So time to just wait and see. At this point, it is just looting phase and first rotation phase. We still have to wait just a little bit longer for the real big action to start happening.
Yeah, but when that action does come, it is going to be crazy, as we saw in yesterday's Miramar game. I mean, again, this was the match in which Falcons brought yet another amazing performance to the battlefield, finishing on 13 elims. But also the players there from Kurdistan were hard on their heels, also coming in with 8 elims as well as Revolution. So definitely we do have some hard hitters when it comes to the map of Miramar. Even the players from Triple D, they finished with 6 elims to their name. Yes, placement points didn't work out too well for them, but we know that they have the potential to get the job done, if the need requires that. So I'm curious to see at what point these teams are going to start, dialing up those hard-hitting points and looking to gain a few more points to try and just solidify a decent position on the overall rankings.
I end up kind of calling Miramar the wildcard map because we don't really get to get that much information on how teams play Miramar. Miramar, in my opinion, a little bit more difficult to play than Sanhok. So we don't know who's going to go on ahead and do well because yesterday, there's a huge array of people that ended up performing. And Triple D, actually, speaking of them, they're actually pushing for Kurdistan, which is hard because for Kurdistan did so well last match. They're actually fighting another team too, and they're out. Wait a second.
Ooh.
That's so unfortunate.
Yeah, clear vision. I mean, they had their sights set on the players there from Kurdistan. So with the help of the cheeky shot coming in from Triple D, we send them away back into the lobby. But now this, of course, allows for the opportunity for Clear Vision and Triple D to kind of meet each other somewhere along the way.
My kind of guess was that for Kurdistan was once again going to do really well in this match because they seriously got first place in yesterday's Miramar match. But I guess since they won the last match today on Erangel, this one isn't as lucky for them. Ended up getting kind of split between two teams. That's a harsh situation to find yourselves in. But I mean, luckily they won the last match. Hopefully that'll level out the points that they have given, still in the top 8 to be able to qualify and then come back next match. But now at this point, no clue who's going to go ahead and really take this Miramar match. I guess next up would be the Falcons. They ended up getting 13 kills yesterday on Miramar. So I want to see if they're going to be able to pull that off again.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing whether that's going to be a possibility. But of course, now we do see the players here from Revolution and CONQUEROR Iraq finding themselves in a little bit of a predicament there. Close to center zone, of course, we can see blue zone starting to make its way on through. But now, this is where we have the players from Stalwart actually moving up on towards that crate, the crate there at La Bendita. And we've seen at times that being quite an essential point to be holding, but that, of course, will all be determined once this next phase pops. And it just beautifully centers up on itself. So they can remain in that position, look to maybe possibly fortify that. But look, right here, we've got the players now from Triple D and Clear Vision meeting each other on the battlefield, getting ready for a bit of an exchange here. as both teams had a hand at the demise there of for Kurdistan. But who's going to be the next one to find themselves a few more elims? Definitely
Ooh.
Triple D throwing some beautiful grenades here.
I have to say, Triple D, they didn't do too well starting yesterday, but coming into today, they definitely are more aggressive. They know what they need to be doing, and they need to be getting kill points is what they decided. So I really actually love to see how they're playing this together as a team. Their team fighting has definitely improved as of yesterday, definitely grew that confidence. And now it's just a matter of them trying to take out Clear Vision, which Clear Vision, on the other hand, they are doing really well when it comes to placement points. So they can definitely stay alive for a long time. They do have less kill points, so I haven't quite seen as much of their fighting style, but they're able to stay into that late game, so obviously it is effective. So we'll just have to wait and see exactly who's going to come out on top on this one. I love McAdee's kind of backing up there to be able to see Triple D go over that hill a little bit more. I think it's just who's going to get the first knock is who's going to be the winner, potentially.
Yeah, but I gotta say, I'm liking this play coming in from Fox, though. The nice off-angle rotation, trying to wrap around behind Clear Vision, while the rest of the team kind of draws all the attention to them. I mean, you can see Red just laser focused on that. If we look at the arrows on the mini-map, it also does seem like the rest of the Clear Vision focusing all their efforts in, and with that, Triple D comes rushing on forward. Six rocks and finds the first butt. Ooh, it goes right on down. Beautiful retaliation, a defensive play coming in from Marley. Now it's down to Octan and, of course, Fox. But Fox hasn't jumped just yet. And with that, Clear Vision gets sent away. Triple D just beautifully holding their ground here.
I am surprised by that. I didn't even process what just happened there. Oh my goodness, Fox. I really thought that he was going to be able to shoot them in the back. Instead, he kind of started depending on a big rotation to kind of get around them. But his team didn't even need that to happen. They ended up being able to really take out Clear Vision pretty effectively there. So it does look like Triple D, they are in fact determined to get higher on that leaderboard compared to what they were able to perform yesterday. And that's pretty exciting to see, in my opinion. I want to see them going ahead and fight the next team as well already.
Well, of course, we'll have to wait and see what they'll be doing. But now, for the time being, it does seem like the Falcons are going to be trying to wrap around the blue zone. Ooh, Wade pulling a few stunts along the way. Nothing wrong with that. At least he nailed the landing. That was a good one. But of course, now we see Black Cobra also coming up the side. So they need to be cautious. They're not in the clear just yet. But definitely an interesting rotational strategy coming through here.
Yeah, and they're just going to start continuing. I mean, honestly, these teams down to the southern side had a pretty rough rotation. It's really hard to make a rotation from the south to the north because the only road that there is all the way on the eastern side along the coast. And since this zone did kind of pop back towards the center, they're already on top of each other. They both tried starting to make a rotation in the same direction. So they're going to be running into each other as we're already seeing. And they're going to have to figure out how to keep moving as well because the zone popped once again. And I love to see it. Whenever it is a zone that's around Bandita and Minas Generales, I love those kinds of zones because Bandita, that bowl there, provides a really interesting dynamic on which teams are able to kind of gain control of the top of it and play inside and just around the outskirts of it. Right now, I'm excited to see how Stalwart is going to be able to play it, and I hope it's successfully because, again, yesterday they needed the points too, and today they're definitely showing that they are capable of doing so.
Yeah, they still are looking to hold that controlling potential angle in the phase, but of course now we see the players here from GEEKAY just still riding that blue zone, trying to make their way back up in towards the zone. Only got a few more seconds left on the clock before blue zone starts moving up once again. And with that comes an increase in the damage being dealt by the blue. But of course, nothing wrong with a little bit of a delayed rotation coming in on Miramar, of course. Now, looking at the players here from Ra'ad, they're looking to set themselves up on the north here, right up ahead of them. You can see the players there from CONQUEROR as well, just up in towards the lovely compounds as they make their way on through. But again, a little bit of that leapfrog play coming through, hopping from compound to compound, making sure that it's clear before moving on to the next one. And I'm curious to see whether or not Ra'ad and CONQUEROR are going to be finding each other right here up and towards Minas.
For right now, I mean, these are two locations that teams do play out of a lot in this location. They can go on ahead and kind of stay away from each other. I'm sure that there's going to be kind of pot shots in each other's direction, especially onto Conqueror because they're on the lower end of that spot. But for right now, I don't think that they're going to go on ahead and push each other. They both have a successful place that can get themselves into the late game. It's just a matter of who else is going to kind of go on ahead and bother them as well, such as Triple D. No way, again, they just got out of a fight, and once again, they're finding themselves in one. This time with KAMIKAZE, they are aggressive this game. Uh-oh.
I know you always say you like a little bit of that chain fighting. Not quite sure if this would qualify, but oh, Triple D and KAMIKAZE. Look at this. It is now all down to Ali to try and keep it together, but KAMIKAZE just absolutely obliterating the side of Triple D.
Oh my goodness, and here comes Basel as well. He wants to make that big aggressive push, but it doesn't matter. The nice holdover from his teammate there is able to take him down before he's able to push onto Basel. Triple D Iraq is eliminated. They did go out with a decent amount of kills, but it's those placement points that also really matter. And going out in 14th place, that unfortunately is a big fat 0 in terms of those points. But I actually... it was kind of refreshing to see them be getting into those fights, in my opinion. So I kind of want to see that going into this last match as well after this one. And also taking a look at this map, right before the circle pops, a ton of teams have already moved their locations. One of them being Stalwart. They're no longer in control of the entire Bandito Bowl. And that's going to make this holding spot a little bit more difficult, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, like, I understand why we saw a little bit of a potential move coming in there from them, just to trying to anticipate where the zone could be shifting. But as we saw now, it just sent it up on the position they found themselves in already. And now they're going to have to put in a bit of work to regain a bit of control in that region. Meanwhile, the players here from GEEKAY are going to be looking to still advance their way further forward. Black Cobra are going to be keeping a very watchful eye, hoping to find a possible way on end. But of course, that blue zone is not going to be waiting for anyone, as we see Mohammed now grabbing that buggy, trying to get their butts back up in towards zone. A little bit of distance to cover, and also a few more seconds left until that big bad blue zone starts moving up once more. GEEKAY, good reposition, closer to zone, not yet in it. But we can also see the players here from 1 Million Esports now just holding on the side.
Yeah, they're taking this nice and slowly. Some nice shots coming through from them onto GEEKAY. Going to be doing a little bit of damage. I like their spot right now as well. They're clearly up here at these little shacks trying to take a look inside zone to see what else they can play out of. There is a team right below them. The next movement, honestly, might just be a big crash onto them if they can't find anything else to play inside the zone. And honestly, the choices are very slim. We can see that other compound kind of over there in the distance, but we already know that another team was kind of in that area as well. And I thought that they were going to be able to take it by now, but it's still free. So if 1 Million Esports or GEEKAY is able to identify this kind of open, they could make a big push into that. But with these smokes, I was questioning whether or not they had vehicles there, but I guess they're trying to toss out some smoke so that they can take their vehicles and send it out there safely. Yeah, here we go. The buggy's starting to move.
Yeah, and of course now GEEKAY going to try and push on through. We do see the players from HQ just to the east of them, but a little bit further away we see the team also now holding up there from the players of Stalwart. So GEEKAY needs to be super careful with how they choose to rotate, because Conqueror also positioned on the edge of zone. So this is like a trap upon trap just being set up right here. But of course, so far it seems like Azem is able to just find that little bit of an opening in the defensive here, as the blue zone now comes in, but Mombay's vehicle gets blown up as the players here from Stalwart go to town. Vankid also now getting knocked right on down as Wade comes in from off in the distance, also holding on to the perimeter of the crater. But let's see.
He was trying to blow up that vehicle so that he didn't get blown up, but unfortunately just those people to the northern side in Minas Generales, they definitely took advantage of that and got those kills. So they need to be careful with their spot too. I'm glad that they ended up finding that compound that I was kind of referring to just beside them to the eastern side, but the two up on top of the hill, they have a really important job as well, because if anybody gets above them in that compound, that means they're basically stuck in that compound and there's no way to move out, and we don't know where this next zone is going to go. So I like this 2-2 split right now. They still have to be careful, because they need to get that res going quickly, because at any moment the teams up to the northern side can make a big rotation, just make a huge crash onto them, just as actually headquarters driving right now, a little bit worried on where they're going to go.
Ooh, but there we go. At least the players now from Stalwart find themselves in a pretty decent position. But now there's going to be a lot of pressure coming in from that southern side, especially as we see the players here from the Ultimate. We've got Vibe 6, Kazakhstan, Ra'ad, 963 Egypt, as well as Revolution, all now just trying to find themselves a decent position to move on into. But first up, we're going to start over in the southern edges. This is going to be a pretty tough one to hold. The Ultimates also now finding themselves in a bit of a, I don't know, I feel a little bit torn here, like having to choose which side you choose to fight first.
Honestly, in a situation like this, I feel like going into Bandita is the most likely path of survival. So they have to go on ahead and get rid of Vibes and then make a move up onto the hill. So that's currently what they're aiming for, but we can see that Malto being able to get 2 knocked over there so far. It's not looking too good for the Ultimate, but as Blue Zone's going, they have to start getting a move on as well, because they cannot stay there forever. There is one team inside of Bandita too, so they need to start looking forward and see that there is going to be even more difficult to get across. There we go. This is just chaos down here. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, Vibe 6 now just trying to ride the storm, trying to evade the carnage up ahead. As you can see, players there from the Ultimate now taking quite a few punches. But of course, Azrael now trying to make the vehicle fly. Basil gets knocked right on down. It comes to the last remaining hopeful there for the players of of this team of KAMIKAZE to try and survive. Of course, Falcons just riding this reach as well, as you can see them just off in the distance there. But Vibe 6 now continuing to push on forward. Oh, Ra'ad right there alongside them. Here we go. Oh, Falcons now starting to hit, but Conquerors, Revolution, and 1 million fighting up in the north. I mean, 1 million having one player knocked, they still are able to hold on to all their players. Of course, the side of Conqueror already losing one, but Kalaga now trying to reach across another knock. Coming in for 1 million. Headquarters just down below. Almost like a crocodile lying in the shallow water in ambush. But let's see, will the Conqueror Iraq be able to make a play and potentially get the reach onto 1 million?
Not quite sure, but definitely just taking a look at what the zone currently is like. The best place that teams need to get to survive is actually up on top of that Bandita hill where half of Stalwart is, because no matter where this next zone goes, being there is the best case scenario. That's why there's so much fighting along the edges though, because those locations are already basically filled. So it's a difficult situation. Falcons actually pushing to the bottom of Stalwart as Conqueror Iraq is still trying to take some shots towards 1 million. They're gonna have to start driving soon though, and honestly, if they drive to the center right now, all eyes are going to be on them, and that's going to be dangerous. So they need to try and stay alive here for as long as possible before making their next move. And at this point, we're going to be missing a lot of fighting, because this is just a big, huge kill zone, and I'm glad to see Stalwart leave that compound behind, because they need to be up here to win and taking on this fight with Falcons.
Yeah, this is going to be turning into a big bowl of carnage as the teams start making their way on through. Of course, now Wade there from Falcons getting taken right on down. Stalwart still holding on to all 4 their players. We can see now Yusuf also just set up on the edge of the zone, lying in wait, trying to see who's going to be moving up. Revolution, of course, now getting sent right on back. Stalwart getting ready to push. We've got Ra'ad moving in from that southern side, of course, fighting themselves right there alongside Vibes, who now get sent away as Delharp sends out those beautiful grenades. Of course, now Ra'ad just riding on adrenaline as they continue to push on forward. Falcons up ahead, so they still need to be relatively cautious. But let's see, will these grenades find their way on in? Desha gets picked right on up. Sadat also trying to push on in, but it is now up to Sadat to try and make this play work out. Delharp also right there on the off angle, but Blues are just nipping at their heels. But here we go. Van Kid now trying to see if they can find that angle, find those plays up on towards Falcons. Here we go, Never Alone comes up, down he goes. Van Kid coming out victoriously.
Stalwart is doing amazingly on this. I cannot believe they have all 4 members still alive, and they had the position. You could take a look at it, and you knew they had to play up on this Bandita ridge to survive and win. And so far, they've been doing that 100% successfully. Like, they have not been taken down just yet, and now they're in a position to both hold out people from the north and the south. They just have to kill all these people in the bowl. There we go. We can even see Easy starting to make his attention up to the northern side. From here, they should make that 10 eliminations that they already have into an even higher number. Conqueror going out here as well as 963 takes them down. Nice to see them still alive at this point with 5 eliminations so far as well. Oh my goodness. And at this point, there are 3 solos on the board, DK.
I mean, these are 2 teams we were looking to see step it up. And again, Stalwart and 963 Egypt just coming out of the woodworks over here on Miramar as they continue to just impress us so much. Of course, we still have 1 million as well as Ra'ad left on the 2 opposite ends. Both teams, of course, now positioned out in that blue zone. Both teams have been reduced down to a single player apiece. So it is going to be a 4v4 v1v1. Of course, Delharp not going to go down without a fight. Of course, the blue zone does get the better of them. And with that, Raad gets sent away. Up comes Gaga. Down goes Gaga. It is now 963 Egypt up against Stalwart, sitting on 11 and 7 elims respectively. Absolutely insane performances coming in from both these teams once again.
I am so excited to see how this is going to turn out because look at the zone where it went right now. That is definitely in favor of 963. However, Stalwart, they have this little high hill right now. They could potentially do a lot of damage from up here, but with 963, they're going on ahead and moving, spreading along around this ridge that they have. This is a really strong position. That means they're going to be in charge of the peaks onto Stalwart from here. And Stalwart, they're going to have to run out in the complete open if they're hoping to get towards this zone. So Stalwart, honestly, they have to start with a knock. Otherwise, they're going to be in for a world of trouble. 963 Egypt, they have to be careful with their peaks right now and basically just wait for Stalwart to make their move. And it looks like Easy is going to do so, driving over a little bit closer to that zone. And no way, they let him get close. This is not good.
Oh, in fact, it does seem like 963 Egypt kind of missed this whole kind of valley that we've got right in front of them, as now the players here from Stalwart are using this to try and advance themselves even further forward. Easy now finding the easy way in. Mexico now starting to try and pick away, trying to blaze their way back up into the zone. But of course, blue zone is starting to make its way in. 963 Egypt still have the controlling position in this phase. Vankit sneaks up the side, picks up Zuxi. Will this be the opening they've been waiting for? Yes, indeed, it does look like it is. Another knock comes right on through. It is now down to Nossa and the teammate to try and hold on. Up comes Easy. Will this be the play we've been waiting for? Come on. Stalwart is so close to pulling this one off. Messi on the opposite end. Will he able to get the shots up into Vankit? Easy makes swift work of Nossa. Now all the efforts turn right on down to Messi. Stalwart looking to move in for the finish here. Will this be the play? Up comes the bounce. Oh, so close. Mexico sends up yet another one. Molly not really finding all the way across just yet. But Easy keeping a very watchful eye while going through the loot, as one does when in a pressure situation. Messi manages to pull off the res on towards Zuxi. So now they've been able to bounce their numbers back up. But will the players here from Stalwart now use this to come rushing in, as it's now a 3v3?
They could get this res as well. Yeah, you're right. If they get this res, it's going to be back to a 3v3. I have no idea where this next zone is, but honestly, Stalwart, they have the better position now because they're still allowed to be pretty spread out now. They're in charge of the peaks, and all of 963 are unfortunately stuck behind one singular point. So that is very easy to go ahead and keep an eye on. They have 3 people to watch only the right and the left side of this rock. So 963 Egypt, they have to make their peaks purposeful, and they need to get a knock as soon as possible. You can see one of them trying to jump up on top of the rock because they know that the sides are going to be watching. Nice usage of the smoke, actually.
Oh, that is such a big brain play with that smoke. But of course, up comes Mexico now looking to push in. Oh, 963 and Stalwart going toe-to-toe. Up comes the hits. Down goes Nossa. Down goes Messi. Up to Zuxi. And down they go. Stalwart swoop on through and claim themselves the victory. Absolutely fantastic stuff. I mean, this is the second match. Both these teams have been going toe to toe. The first time round, 9-6-3 Egypt took the dub. This time, it was Stalwart UAE to reign supreme. Absolutely beautiful finish to this match.
Well, I'm just impressed with Stalwart. They actually had the worst position at the very beginning when it was finally down to the last two teams, but with Easy being able to send it on over with his vehicle, there was nothing that the other team could do. He was able to kind of creep forward and kind of get that opening for his team to get closer. So they were able to completely turn around the harsh situation. So let's take a look at the match standings as well, because that was just a great game played for both those teams. Stalwart just making the best out of the hard situation. They had a great position from the start, and they got 30 total points from it.
Well, absolutely stellar performance here from Stalwart. I gotta say, I mean, color me impressed. That was a really, really good situational play. But I think the turning point in this engagement between 963 and Stalwart was, as you mentioned, that opportunity Easy had to leapfrog forward, right? If 963 Egypt just had positioned themselves a little bit closer to that ridge line, I do think things could potentially maybe have taken a completely different turn, but well done nonetheless. Of course, we still see some pretty impressive elimination figures coming through there. I mean, Conqueror Iraq coming in with 6. We got Raad and Team Falcons, as well as 1 million sitting on 4 points apiece, with KAMIKAZE and Triple D finishing on 5 pops each. So some really impressive players once again. I gotta say though, Span, these teams are really starting to build up some really strong momentum here.
They are, and some of these teams, I have to say, are jumping back and forth as well. Even Conqueror and KAMIKAZE, they were on the second page this last match, and now they're back on the first. But let's take a look at that second page as well to see the other changes. Finally, some other teams jumping up towards the top again, because it's for Kurdistan, Black Cobra, Ultimates, Revolution. It's like all of those teams, even Climax and Esports, that are towards the top, that are now going to be potentially a little bit more worried, because those teams below them gained a ton of points in this last match where they only picked up a couple.
Yeah, there's definitely some surprising plays coming through. I mean, if we look at Clear Vision, for instance, right? Yesterday, we saw them finishing with 7 elims and, of course, taking that 5th place. This time around, only 3 elims, finishing up in 11th place. So definitely we do see teams looking to dial up their intensity, really bringing new things to the table. And I'm quite satisfied that it is teams that we didn't see this kind of performance come from yesterday. So far, today is really a surprising day.
It is, and it's refreshing. It's nice to see. I'm glad to see. This is what should have happened after yesterday, them getting used to the lobby and learning from it and coming back and really providing that challenge. Let's take a look at the overall, though, because at this point, I feel like, once again, this first page is going to be completely different from what we started with. Of course, not Team Falcons, though, or Revolution. Both of them are still comfortably in that first and second place spot, but Revolution only has 7 points more than for Kurdistan. For Kurdistan even went out really early, I believe actually first in this last match. So they're pretty lucky in terms of that. Conquer Iraq being able to kind of catch up with 80 now, and they're Stalwart in 963 Egypt once again. A reminder, these teams were in that 15th and 16th place at the beginning of today, and now they're in 5th and 7th. That's just an insane amount of increase from them.
Yep. Yeah, that is absolutely insane. I mean, I gotta say, I'm especially impressed with the performance coming in from the players here from 963 Egypt. Beautiful, beautiful PUBG. But of course, as we move on to our second page, this is where we get an idea of who has to put a little bit more work in to try and solidify themselves with a strong position. Of course, you know, it is still not out of the realm of possibilities for any of these teams to make it onto the first page, right? The only thing it's going to take is a heck of a lot of work.
Oh, definitely. And a team I'd actually really like to talk about is Black Cobra here in that 12th place position, 47 total points. Coming into today as well, they were actually in 4th place because they had an insane amount of placement points. It might have actually been 36 placement points if I'm not mistaken. So we talked about how they really needed to increase both their kill points and placement points. For right now, they definitely got a couple more kills, but it seems like they're not being as consistent with their placements as they have been yesterday. And that's it's unfortunate to see them not be able to completely figure out what they have to do in this.
Well, of course, they've got one more match left for today to try and put something together, piece something together before we move into our final day of play. But of course, before we get into our last match, it is going to be time for us to jump into a quick break. So be sure to stay tuned and we'll see you guys right back after a short few minutes. Hello and welcome back to the PUBG Mobile Pro League Arabia Qualifiers for Season 3. Of course, if you've missed out on the action, you just missed out on an absolutely fantastic fight over on towards Miramar to wrap up that fourth fight. And of course, we saw the players there from 963 Egypt and Stalwart going at each other's throats. They started off the day with a really impressive finish to our first match, and now they brought it back again right here over on towards Miramar. Now as we're getting ready to move into our final match of the day, match 5 on Erangel once again. Span, I wonder if we're going to be seeing any of these feuds continuing as the teams have their last opportunity today to bring a change onto that overall ranking.
You know, I'd love to see it. The first match, 963 ended up being able to take that chicken dinner away from Stalwart. In this last match, Stalwart took it away from 963. In both situations, in the first match, I feel like Stalwart had the better position, but 963 ended up winning. And in this one, I feel like 963 had the better position, and then Stalwart ended up winning. So kind of in this situation, they are 1-1. So I feel like this last match is kind of like the tiebreaker situation, but also I need to see some more effort coming in from some of the other teams.
Well, of course, we wait to see where that flight path is going to be coming in, and of course, where that zone is going to be going. Any predictions coming in from your side, Span?
Absolutely not. I just hope to see something different.
Wait, well, of course, as we can see, we are coming in from the south. The lovely Sosnovka up ahead. I feel like a tour guide. But anyway, here we are taking our flight path up from the south. It does seem to be leaning ever so slightly towards the eastern half, but still a very centralized flight path. Yeah.
What's new at this point? I feel like the majority of our Erangel so far has had a plane path a little bit more further towards that eastern side, and then all of the circles have been going to the west for whatever reason. So, I mean, we'll end up seeing where it's going to go in this situation. It's nice to see it kind of start over Military Island once again. The usual teams going Military Island, we can see are already jumping, and we still haven't gotten a north circle, a north ending, shooting range, Zarki, Severny, Stalwart, Kameshki, like something up there. Even Yasnaya, I'd count. We haven't really seen an ending up there, so I'm really hoping to see that. And all those teams that drop up there, they're obviously going to love that. So, like, I want to see a zone pull up there because I want to see how the teams are going to be reacting to that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, there'd be nothing better to end off the day than a zone heading up on towards the north. For the time being, all we can do is keep our fingers crossed and hope that that is going to be exactly what we'll get. But only time will tell, as we are a few moments away. Come on. Let's see. Nope.
I'm sad.
Sorry.
Once again, you know, the PUBG mobile RNG gods are just like, oh, Span wants a north circle? Absolutely not. We can't listen to that. So it looks like, isn't this like the same zone as the last Erangel that we had actually? So looks like we're about to have a repeat of that. Hopefully it still goes somewhere a little bit different, but the benefit of it kind of being a similar zone is that people literally just played this. That means that they should have learned from their mistakes from the last game, again, making this a little bit more interesting in terms of interactions once people actually start making those rotations into the spots that they want to play out of.
Yeah, I think at most this phase is probably just a little bit further north to what we had the previous time around. Not a lot, just a little smidge. And probably that is what, you know, the RNG PUBG gods kind of got from that. All they heard was north and then just a little bit, and then, you know, they're like, we'll just give it a smidge, right? So it is still going to be a very, very similar kind of play. I mean, Yasnaya is in play. The teams can still kind of go there. The zone could still maybe end up there. So we'll have to wait and see what exactly will be in store for us. But for the time being, the teams are going to just be going through their looting phases, looking to see what they can bring in. And I mean, the last time we were right here on the lovely map of Erangel, we saw the team from Kurdistan coming in with that winner chicken dinner with 9 elims, and of course the players from the Ultimate taking that second place with 8 elims to their name. So definitely some teams stepping up, trying to be the hard hitters and really succeeding in doing exactly that. So I'm curious to see what the teams are going to be bringing in. As you said, you know, this is a very similar kind of zone to what we've been seeing, but I'm also curious to see whether or not that zone is going to be shifting in a very similar manner.
Ragnar standing up on top of the roof, contemplating life right now. You know, he's
Mm.
very seriously wondering where they're going to go in this next zone. Oh, it looks like he's kind of figured it out. That's good. Okay. But I mean, it's nice to see all these teams have been going to the same places, and we have seen some interesting interactions. Even the first to Erangel, actually, the Ultimates ended up kind of being able to mess with the team that dropped right beside them, near that farm, near that other area, right below them, and we haven't really gotten to see that just yet. So there are some opportunities of different play styles in every single game that we've been playing, and it actually looks like Falcons is the team that has Yasnaya Polyana, as you were talking about earlier. I would love for it to go up here because even that has some really different challenges to playing up in this direction. But of course, we can't control that. Against popular belief, casters do not control where the zones go. So we'll just have to wait and see where they do decide to go. And again, who's going to come out on top? Because honestly, even Falcons, I will say, they had an amazing game yesterday, and they still have been doing good today. They're still in that top spot, but we haven't seen one of those explosive gameplays like we saw yesterday.
Well, who knows? I mean, we're just gonna have to wait and see. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about it. Like, it would be nice if we could maybe just nudge the zone sometimes a little bit, you know. But also, I don't think the teams would be too happy with us if that was a thing. But so for the time being, we're just gonna have to wait and see where our first point of contact is gonna be, as the teams are all now still going through the looting phases. We haven't seen anything in the kill feed just yet. Everyone keeping it nice and quiet for the time being. Everyone being respective of the looting phase. But of course, they can't respect it for too long. I mean, come on, right? So we're approaching the second phase. Blue zone is starting to close on up. We know where a lot of the teams are going to start migrating towards. It will, of course, be over on towards that eastern side. But I'm hoping to see a few teams trying to, you know, challenge each other a little bit.
If they don't do it today, it's definitely going to start happening tomorrow. Tomorrow is definitely going to be the day where people are going to be taking it even more seriously, because that means they only have one more day, 5 more games to make it into the top 8 qualifying range. So right now, it's kind of once again setting the tone. I feel like, as we usually say, the last game usually sets the tone for the next day, which I believe wholeheartedly. So some of those teams, once again, towards the bottom, let's go ahead and start seeing them do well in this match, because then tomorrow they might just go on ahead and be able to get into the qualifying spot.
Well, maybe, yeah, definitely could be a possibility there. Of course, if we look now over on towards the players here from headquarters, also just going about their business. But I mean, I'm hoping to see a good play coming from the players of GEEKAY and, you know, like Vibe 6, because they've shown some potential. You can see by the way that GEEKAY, for instance, goes about their rotations, that there is something there. I just want to see it falling into place 100%. Almost like this shot here from Zuxi on towards Alush could be falling into place pretty soon.
I cannot believe that Luch is still alive. I'm like actually amazed. He had like no HP running towards that vehicle. Instant smokes though, which is great for him. The thing is that yeah, I was gonna say I saw 963 on the other side of the road too, so I don't think he has long to live, and that's exactly what happened. Team Ultimate, it looks like they were probably struggling for vehicles if he ran all the way up to these buildings to try and grab a buggy. The rest of his team usually drops a Milta, so they're going to have to figure out something else in terms of modes of transportation. And of course, right when they try to go for that vehicle, 963 is already done with that area, and they're already making their next rotation. Just unfortunate timing on Lucia's part. Can't really go on ahead and predict that. But once again, it's time to start making a move on to try and grab the best spot inside zone. Triple D Iraq actually grabbing Lumberyard. This is an interesting place to play out of. And again, for Kurdistan, had a great game two games ago. Ended up getting out in first in the 16th place this last one. So they're hoping to end off on a good note too, because they can do it.
Yeah, no, they definitely can. I mean, just have to wait and see what's going to be coming to the table once this blue zone closes up entirely and the next shift pops on through. But of course, they have to be relatively cautious of the team positioned up in towards that lumber yard, as not aside from the splinters, there could be quite a few disruptions coming from that.
There could be. There could be. Anytime you make a rotation towards something, gotta go ahead and be a little bit careful about it. GK, oh, I'm actually interested in this. GK is still up in ended up going to where are we? We're in North Georgia Pole, and they're taking blue damage. This is interesting. Okay, starting a little bit of a late rotation. They definitely focused on the loot, as we can even see here. Them kind of trading some stuff around. Hopefully that means by the time that they get inside of the zone, they're going to be able to kind of come in on some stuff that's either fighting already or some sort of an opening, and they'll have all the stuff that they could possibly want. But they're definitely kind of playing for that. Let's wait for all of them to kind of be a little bit chaotic before we end up entering. And the next one's about to pop, though.
Yeah, but that's a very similar approach we saw them applying in the previous Erangel as well. Just riding the blue zone, trying to stay out there for the longest. But that is obviously their strategy, not because they forgot to rotate. You know, it does seem like it's like there's some purpose behind it, as they are now looking to advance their way back up in towards the zone with that shift. Now, once again, moving over towards that bridge, and very similar to what we had in our first match. So I'm hopeful, because first match we had a 963 and Stalwart being pretty successful with 13 elims apiece. Already 963 sitting on 1, taking that out of the players there from the ultimate. But they got to be careful. I mean, they still got to maintain that focus, keep that mentality up, and also keep the caution while they make their way on through, looking for a decent position to pull up into. Of course, we did see the players there from Ra'ad not too far away, holding over on towards that western front. So who knows?
But,
I mean...
yeah. But otherwise, it seems like they're kind of doing a very similar thing to what they did on the game that they ended up winning, already pulling into another compound. It's not the same compound as the one they had last time. This one a little bit further towards the west, so can't entirely play it the same way. They don't want to try it again. They're just going to wait to see how this zone is different. Even CONQUEROR Iraq, they're deciding to kind of play down here on the very top of this cliff, waiting for these next zones to go. From here, they can get a lot of information. Not too many people will come over here and bother them. They're just waiting for the best opportunity to move once again, and I'm feeling a little bit worried for Ragnar in this situation. Team Ultimate, they already lost a teammate, and it looks like Triple D Iraq wants to make them lose even more.
Yeah. We gotta wait and see whether or not they'll be able to succeed in this, though, because, I mean, I'm curious to see where 1million is. We did see them previously get rotated up from that southern side, but a beautiful nade coming in from Octan right up on towards Ragnar. So definitely the players here from the Ultimate being put on quite a bit of a back foot, as they've now... they are potentially 2 players down. I don't think they're going to be able to get this raise up onto Ragnar. And now it all turns to Hope and L3 to try and, you know, kind of piece this all back together.
That was like an amazing sense coming in from Octan, knowing exactly where he would be outside that window. Perfect nade. It looks like he actually might be able to crawl over, though. Oh, no. Okay. I was just like, I hope he gets him. Look, he's tossing a nade. Instantly takes him down. He was really close. He didn't even see where he was. Again, I guess the intuition coming into play or something. That was a great wipe coming in from Triple D Iraq. And now, if they wanted to, they could go on ahead and continue to push the ultimates. If they had been paying attention to the kill feed earlier, they should know that there's only 2 of them left. So if they really wanted that compound further down to the south, they could definitely go on ahead and take it. But right now, they seem content with the area that they do have.
But we're definitely seeing the teams being way more proactive with their rotations this time around. Really getting up into those positions much, much faster. I mean, we were looking at the players from CONQUEROR just a few moments ago. That's a very similar position to where we saw them previously. And now this time around, they got onto that position much, much faster. Also, we just saw the players there from 1million already starting to try and set themselves up a little bit closer towards that bridge, with the first player already crossing over. Revolution still holding on. But this time around, the zone shifts in a completely opposite direction, but already CONQUEROR find themselves in a very decent setup. Of course, Vibe 6, smack dab center zone. Now they just need to try and hold on to those compounds.
I was going to say, how they ended up getting to their spots so quickly this time around is, we already said it, they already played this previous circle, so they instantly already knew, oh, okay, we could just go on ahead and get to this spot right away. And it's a little bit clear, we know where we want to play. But I'm so glad that this next zone ended up going all the way to the west, because that'll create something a little bit different. And you're right, some teams are already quite happy with what they've gotten, but Team Falcons, Clear Vision Esports, unfortunately running into each other up here on this northeastern side. This is going to be an interesting fight. The Falcons super spread out. Let's see how they're going to get out of this.
Well, ooh, beautiful utilities now getting sent on over. Look at this clear vision now trying to find the final few hits into the side there of Team Falcons. But of course, Damar now quickly rotating and falling back to the safety, trying to pull up towards Yusuf. And it's always very exciting seeing teams, in fact, fight in and around the shelter region here, as there's so many different angles for them to take and, you know, strike from. But it does seem like Falcons are indeed looking to push up in it towards that. Here we go now. HQ and 963 finding themselves in a bit of a tussle here. Who's going to be the one to find those hits? Aziz quickly hopping into the vehicle. But I mean, look at this approach. 963 super spread out, but in a tactical way, just trying to spread themselves out as much as they can to cover as many of these angles as they can find.
Yeah, but the two inside of this compound need to be really careful, because if one of or even two of them get knocked, there's no way that the other teammates could go on ahead and help out. But I love to see that the teammate from the northern side that was in the wizard tower instantly sending it on over and crashing to turn this into a 3v4. Looks like each of them ended up getting a trade, so it's down to a 3v2. This one on the southern side should really kind of come on over, especially right now. There's only one more left for 963, and he needs help, but unfortunately, headquarter takes him down. The Ultimates get eliminated in the distance, and now a 9-6 to Egypt is down to one person left, and they should know exactly where he is.
Oh, this could be quite the interesting play. Oh, come on. Up comes the players here from Triple D now to be a little bit of a thorn in the side. But actually, it turns out to be a little bit of a saving grace potentially now for 963 with that rip. Gets taken right on down. Aziz and Welly trying to hold up the defensive line. Look at Six Rocks and now trying to sneak around the side. Oh, come on. Who's going to get it? Aziz now trying to see if he can figure out which way would be the best approach. But Triple D not going to be backing off just yet. Oh, come on. Zuxley there from 963, just creeping further and further away. HQ feeling the heat, feeling the pressure. But of course now Triple D reduced down to only Ali. So headquarters not going to be backing out of the fight just yet. Up they come. Could this be the play? In fact, Willie missing the opportunity, moving right past Ali. What?
Oh my goodness, here we go. He's about to run right by once again. The res coming through onto Triple D. At this point, headquarters, if they don't go ahead and push faster than this, they're going to get all these reses back up, and it's just going to be a start all over again. It looks like a ton of utility kind of being tossed in that direction. It actually seems like they're giving both sides the opportunity to get some of these reses up, and then it's just going to start from the beginning. At least Rip is kind of holding it down, making sure that they can't come any closer inside of this building. So Triple D is stuck to one area for right now. This is a difficult fight that's not even inside zone at this point. Blue Zone's about to overtake them.
Oh, come on. Come on. Timer is ticking. Triple D, they've now had the opportunity to reset, to get themselves back up once again. But now the bombardment ensues as both teams are trying to reach across. They don't want to be the one to push up. But Ali reaches right over towards Aziz. Up comes the play now as Triple D starts to move up along this eastern coastline. Or coastline, just along the eastern side. But here they come. Willie now on the opposite end. Aziz getting traded off. Oh, come on. Oh, down they go as Triple D sends them backing headquarters back into the lobby. But in fact, we actually saw two teams getting eliminated right now.
Yeah, oh my goodness. And also Triple D, we finally are really able to see how they fight this entirety of today. That is yet another fight that we watched of Triple D, and they came out on top. They succeeded. So that is huge for them and their success for climbing up this leaderboard. It also looks like this zone, I mean, it keeps moving down and down and down. It looks like it's finally settled on yet another spot. And there's even two little solos kind of chilling out right beside each other, keeping each other company as they're just waiting for the rest of the teams to be getting a little bit closer. One of them being Delhat from Ra'ad, as we saw there in that little shack. Oh no, he's actually, the people next to him isn't even a solo. It's at least two people over there. But let's see, it looks like more people making rotations towards each other. This is the point where making rotations is pretty scary. For zone, if you make any sort of a big move, you basically got to know that there's going to be another team there. So this is just where if anybody needs to make any sort of movement, it's going to be a fight.
Yeah, it is definitely, wow, gonna be quite a bit of a fight. Looking at the positioning of a lot of these teams, of course, we've got the Black Cobras just right there, almost smack dab center zone with Stalwart. Now, having to deal with this potential play coming through from the players here for Kurdistan. Now, it's interesting to look at just where these teams find themselves, because we've had 963 Stalwart for Kurdistan, as well as the players there from the Ultimate having great success today on Erangel, but of course the Ultimates ultimately already getting eliminated. So now it is up to 963 Egypt. The players there coming in from the side of Stalwart, as well as the players for Kurdistan, to show us what they've got and whether or not they'll be able to replicate the success in the previous visits right here on Erangel. But of course, now as we can see, the numbers are really starting to dwindle as Revolution having a pretty tough time, but Delhap, look at this. Both players now cooking up their grenades, getting ready to send them on through. Delhap almost running right into the front of that one, but does succeed in blowing up the vehicle, and in doing so, takes out one of GEEKAY's players.
Interesting. Yep, he's still alive. Now, the people right below him, though, I mean, they definitely are aware that somebody is in this shack here. That's going to be Vibe 6. Let's see if they're going to be able to hold him out. But they also have to focus on how they're going to make their next rotation inside this zone, because it has once again shifted. The northern side of this road is definitely a really difficult place to play out of. So all these guys up here, they're either going to be fighting just to gain themselves some kill points at this point, since a place inside zone is pretty difficult to achieve, or they're just going to be sending it on inside zone, crashing something good, taking a fight, and they could potentially 50-50 get themselves a good spot there as well. Vibe 6, a little bit of a scary spot. KAMIKAZE, they're starting to make a move on over.
Well, I gotta say, I like those odds though. 50-50, I mean, that's good. I think that's good. You know, if it was anything else, I would have been worried. But 50-50, yeah, those are odds I can live with. But of course, now we look to see what the teams are going to be doing. Black Cobra trying to set up a bit of a gatekeep right here on this western side of the zone. I mean, it's still going to be a really tough entry point for a lot of the players here. Look at KAMIKAZE also now just trying to play that high ground. We've got the players there from GEEKAY also trying to reach all the way across. But now the players here for Kazakhstan, for Kurdistan rather, getting ready to move up. Oh, Stalwart gets the first one in as VanKid starts moving on up. 4K now looking to hold on. Will Golden and the rest of the team be able to maybe have benched their teammate? Or will we see Stalwart actually getting a clean sweep once again?
Time to wait and see. Meanwhile, 968 Egypt unfortunately gets taken out. We have 10 teams left. It looks like both Stalwart staying down below, waiting to see where for Kurdistan's going to be moving. For Kurdistan, a little bit more active, trying to actively nade out Stalwart in this situation. Let's see if that's going to hit. Doesn't seem like it in this spot. Nope. And this is just kind of like a stalemate for right now. So it's a boot kind of taking some shots more towards the southern side, where even more action is happening. A full-on crashes on the compound down there. And that's because, taking a look at this map, those are the only real places to play out of, is these two compounds. Otherwise, it's the dips and ridges that they can find along the road.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of road really to make much use of. As you can see, there's one main road and a lot of carnage all spread out through the rest of this map. But of course, Black Cobra is still looking to push on in as the zone now shifts up. You can see only Damar there from Team Falcons position in zone. VanKid gets blown to smithereens as Empire sends out a beautiful grenade.
Nice.
But look at this beautiful retaliation as Easy now sends one back up in reply. But here we go, looking to see whether or not 4K will be able to hold on. Stalwart now looking to push in, and with that, oh, they clean up the house as they move on through. Black Cobra and KAMIKAZE also now going toe-to-toe right here on the western side. Kante now left to try and hold on as his teammate is slowly bleeding out. But Black Cobra is just looking so calm and collected.
That was a great fight happening up to the northern side. Now they have to finish this fight down here by this other compound. I love actually how this next zone decided to not go on either of the compounds. It was like, you know what, I'm just going to barely touch this northern one, barely touch the western one. Everybody's going to be forced to come out of their hiding spots, and two more teams will be eliminated. There's a lot of movement now happening to try and find themselves any sort of a place to play out of. Vibes actually getting involved against Cobra, tossing some nades over. Again, both these teams like equally outside red zone, but there's nowhere to play just inside of it. So at this point, they're just going to be waiting each other out, trying to take the shots, just get the kill points, and then figuring out all the rest later. It does look like Conqueror, though, they're able to actually find themselves on top of that big hill towards the center now against Stalwart.
It is gonna get pretty hot and spicy, as you can see now. Conqueror still rocking a full squad. Look at this Groza. I mean, the confidence just perched up on the rock in the smoke next to the vehicle. I mean, that is next level confidence right there. But look at that nade, though. Reva sends it over. Vankid bites one up front, but of course now Ali there for Triple D, trying to hold off the angle. Not yet pushing in just yet, but Stalwart also not backing out of these fights just yet. Yes, Vankid just stopped the grenade with his face, but now he's about to get rest right back on up. Will Stalwart be able to push all the way through and bring in another victorious finish?
Time to wait and see. Even more people holding around this edge of Stalwart. Honestly, this is a great position playing up on top of this hill. They can wait for everybody from the west to make a move on out. There you go. Finally starting out Vibes. Able to get a kill into one of them. The other's still alive on the very itty-bitty little ridge there. But here comes Cobra actually being shot from two different teams as well. That Cobra, they're in a horrible spot right now. I think they only end up having one person left. The other downed or really damaged. And Vankid has to be careful because if he gets too close to Malto, that is going to be one down for them. And there it is. I was waiting for it to happen. Surprise! A solo can do so much damage to an entire squad, but at least it was only one.
Yeah, good play coming in there. Good save from Mexico. But of course, now as we see, we only have 4 teams remaining. It is going to be the players coming in from the side of Stalwart. It is going to be Conqueror, Black Cobra, as well as Raad. Position all the way up on towards the north, reduced down to only 1, but Mexico comes in swinging once again, finding the hits. Conqueror now feeling the pressure there. Look at this, Stalwart looking to clean house as they move in, sending Black Cobra right back into the lobby. Meanwhile, Delhub, he's just chilling up on the ridgeline. He's like, nice fights. I'll just wait for that opportunity to strike. And with that, we are down to our final 8 players, 3 teams. With the
That's
Stalwart.
what I was gonna say, actually.
Yeah, Stalwart looking really confident.
Well, Delhop, he wants at least that second place position. So he's going to try and stay as inconspicuous as possible so that Conqueror and Stalwart fight each other out. One of them die, and then Delhop will be able to grab a second place for his team, which is a huge difference in points when it comes to third and second. So you're right in that Stalwart is looking great right now. They have at least one more player compared to Conqueror. Conqueror, however, does have hard cover. Ooh, beautiful nade as well, taking down a Bood. I was going to say, Conqueror has that hard cover. They have that shack that's going to make it really difficult for Stalwart to come a little bit closer. And taking a look at the zone, they have to. This blue zone's about to kind of be pushing their hill out.
Yeah, they're about to run out of hill, but of course, well, hopefully they won't be running out of ammunition anytime soon. But this is still going to be a very hairy fight. But of course, if we look onto Delhop, he's still inching his way up, and he can't move much further because, I mean, Stalwart right up ahead. So if he moves up anymore, he'll get exposed. But with that, of course, now Stalwart get reduced to 3. It is going to be Mexico, Easy, and Vankid to try and duke it out for the side of Stalwart. And of course, Conqueror holding on with Kalaga, Rip, and Groza. Raad gets sent away. Delhop cannot beat the big bad blue zone. But here we go. It is Conqueror and Stalwart. I mean, honestly, I hope Stalwart could get this one. But I wouldn't be disappointed if Conqueror took this one as well.
Either way, I mean, both these teams fought really hard to get to here. I mean, look, Conqueror has 10 kills already. And Stalwart, I assume, 11. Yeah, 11. I was going to say I assume has about the same. And take a look at this next zone shift, though. It's definitely in the favor of Conqueror. Has to be careful, though, because one of them just did get knocked. The cover being the buggy is a little bit difficult. Letting Stalwart get this close right underneath their ridge is not a good idea. And Kalaga knows that, tries to go in for the peak to take those shots, but he's so low HP. At least he gets one, and he knows that he needs to protect his teammate, but no, that was too dangerous.
Now it turns to dear old Groza to try and hold on. Stalwart coming out of nowhere. Well, we know where they came from. just over there. But of course, now just looking to push up. As you can see, it is down to Easy and Van Kid now up on the front line. Mexico trying to sneak around the back. Groza, the last man standing for Conqueror Iraq. 1v3. Will it be something? We see, will Groza be able to clutch this one out? Oh, look at these plays. Up they come. Beautiful rush. Blue zone on the hills, and with that, Stalwart take their second chicken of the day. Back-to-back chickens. Absolutely beautiful stuff. And again, really high elimination count coming in from them as well. So what a way to finish off the second day.
Stalwart, just from game one, has just like blown my expectations. They weren't all the way down that 16th place, but they were in that 15th place. They're not going to be there anymore, needless to say. Like, they definitely figured it out. I don't know what it was that they needed to change and figure out just yet, but I need to ask them or something, because whatever they did, it obviously is working, and they have to be in that top 8 by now, and I'm kind of curious to see what tomorrow is going to bring for them.
Yeah, I mean, they've been showing really fantastic consistency. They've had 3 exceptionally successful games so far, right? So if this is just to give us a glimpse of what we could be expecting tomorrow, I think tomorrow is going to be an absolute insane day with the teams just continuously building and improving their approaches. I mean, we saw an absolute runaway performance coming in from Falcons yesterday. We now had a complete turn on that, and having Stalwart being the team with a complete runaway performance here today. So some absolutely beautiful stuff happening across the board. But of course, we got to have a look and see what those match rankings look like to see where the teams are. And we'll be moving into that in a short few moments. But Span, I got to ask you, was there any particular play that stood out for you in this match?
Ooh, any particular play? I mean, I don't know if there's a particular one, but there was definitely one move that a lot of these teams had to do, and that was, of course, like push in towards a compound that was just on the edge of the next zone. And there was always a team there because, I mean, towards the end of the match, everything is going to be taken by somebody, and it really came down to a fight at the compound, and then whoever won and had to do the same thing to the next team. And it just happened over and over and over, specifically in this game, because there were not that many places for people to play except for those compounds. So it was just that over and over again, and it was honestly really refreshing to see kind of the chain fighting that some of these teams had to pull off.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say I'm quite impressed with the consistency the teams were showing coming in, because we saw a very similar zone in our first match, and sometimes it's a bit of a fluke, if you could call it that, right? Teams just happen to be in the right place at the right time. But a lot of these teams in this last match were able to replicate that once again as they made their way through, and we saw some great success coming through from that once again. So, yeah, I got to give it to these teams. They are, in my opinion, they're pretty good. I mean, they're legends to me. They're legends to me today. I mean, absolutely fantastic stuff.
They're pretty good.
I mean, yeah, it's absolutely insane. Yeah, I mean, but if I say pretty, I mean like pretty, right? That's my definition of pretty. Yeah, not like pretty good, like, yeah.
Understandable. Let's take a look at those match results, though, just to see how well they did in this last game specifically, because like I already said, DK, there was a lot of interesting plays that came through, but Stalwart coming out on top with the 14 kill points, 29 total points. I mean, you can see how all these teams played just based off of the kill points that they were able to pick up. Conquer Iraq fighting the entire time, Stalwart the entire time, even 5-6 with 7. That's still a lot of kill points fighting the entire time. Like, a lot of these teams ended up being able to stay alive till the very end. A lot of interactions between all of them, honestly, that gave everybody a good amount of kills, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, this for me was one of the most entertaining matches to watch so far, right? Definitely a great set of fights, just one on top of the other. And I also, like, even though I know there's not really someone to speak to, I know I got to commend the Blue Zone as well, because it kept these teams on their toes, it kept them guessing every single time, and they just delivered all the way through. So, yeah. Got to give it to these teams. Absolutely fantastic stuff. But of course, speaking about fantastic, let's have a look at that second page to see where the teams find themselves. Of course, plays there from 6-9 Egypt. 6-9. 9-6, 9-6-3 Egypt. Sorry, I can't count today. It's late already. Also, still finding 3 elims, not getting an exact copy of the first match they had here today, but definitely still a really good, valiant effort being put in there from them. And of course, we see the players there from headquarter also now bringing in those 3 elims. KAMIKAZE also with a 3-pointer there. But strangely enough, Falcons not having such a insane day today in comparison to yesterday.
Yeah, and going on ahead and taking a look at the next stuff. I mean, just again, amazing, huge game coming through from a lot of these teams. The second day, definitely. Yeah, at the very beginning, you're just like, hey, is the second day going to be more interesting than the first or a little bit more competitive? And I'm like, yeah, definitely. I mean, they're going to be able to go on ahead, take a look at the VOD review. Some of these teams are going to feel that fire burning underneath their bums because they're realizing that they have to go on ahead and do better.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. A ton of teams ended up standing up and really coming back and giving a run for the money for a lot of these teams. That being said, though, some of those teams towards the top already from yesterday were still able to stay consistent enough, still not maybe pull off an amazing performance that they had yesterday, but still able to hold their position at the very top of the leaderboard. It's just amazing to see. I want to see what happens tomorrow, though, now that both the teams towards the top realize, those teams that were originally at the bottom day one have definitely figured out how to play this match against this lobby, and those teams at the bottom, now that they found their stride, I think both of both kinds of teams, it's going to be interesting tomorrow, basically.
Yeah, I honestly cannot wait for tomorrow's matches, right? Day 1, fantastic stuff. Day 2, fantastic stuff, right? Now, putting all of that together to find our third day, I can tell you that the teams that will make it through, that will qualify for the PMPL Arabia Season 3, in my opinion, they'll be deserving of those qualification slots, as we've been seeing so much hard work coming through. And of course, to give you an idea of what the current standings are, we are going to be having a look at our overall standings at the end of day 2 to see where the teams are and how much work they've put into this. Of course, looking at the top of it, we see the Falcons holding on, but look at this. Stalwart with an absolutely insane play. I mean, they started off the day with only 17 points to their name. Now we find them up in second place with 106 points. Absolutely beautiful comeback story.
Oh, that's disgusting. It's disgusting in a good way, right? 17 points to 106, one of 3 teams that actually broke 100 points. That's insane. Same with KONQUEROR, actually. They are able to go ahead and get 102. And then Revolution for Kurdistan. I mean, those are teams that were already on this first page. Now they're just like, oh no, now we're realizing Stalwart KONQUEROR, they kind of figured it out. They figured out the formula, getting towards the top. And same with 963 Egypt. They're able to bump themselves all the way up from 16th place into 7th place with 77 points. Right now, they're comfortably inside of the top 8 qualifying range. It's just, we're going to have to figure out what the difference is between 8th place and 9th place, basically, because it still could be close for these guys.
Yeah. And as we see, it is still pretty neck in neck, but absolutely beautiful turn of events we've had here so far today. Of course, as we can see, we've got clear vision. They started off the day over in towards that third place on 51 points. Now we see them sitting over in 9th. But of course, also the players here from Ultimate adding quite a few points to the leaderboard, starting off on 28, finishing on 70. So beautiful improvement we've had there from them. They just haven't been able to break through onto that first page. But of course, as we can see, they are pretty close. So there's still one more day, still 5 more matches to go. Now, a little bit of a different story as we move a little bit further down. I mean, Black Cobra, KAMIKAZE, Headquarter, Vibe 6, GEEKAY, and Triple D not having the best day here today. They've, again, had some great moments, but not enough to really strengthen any position higher up on the leaderboard.
No, it's quite an unfortunate situation, honestly, to see Triple D start off with 15 points total. And honestly, getting to 40, that's obviously a lot more than what they were able to pick up day 1, but it's still not enough for them to get into the top 8. So clearly they did improve, but the teams above them also were able to hold on to their points. Another team that I'd like to point out really quickly is actually 1 Million Esports. They started off in 12th place and now they're in 8th place. Again, a really nice jump in showing their improvement. And right now in that qualifying range at this point, everybody just wants to hold on to the points they have if they're in the top 8. So tomorrow it's all going to be about conservation and making sure that they stay holding onto those points. So everybody below them is going to be striving to have those absolutely bomb games where they get a ton of points.
Yeah, I mean, well, we saw it now, right? It happened. We had the players from Stalwart move from the wrong side of the leaderboard, all right, to a really strong position. So any of the teams currently sitting on that second page, not in a position of which they are too satisfied with, they have one more day in which they can try and change that. But of course, that's going to be the last opportunity. Once that opportunity has passed, that is going to be it. But I can tell you it's going to take so much work to bring that in. Again, it is not out of the realm of possibility. It is something that is doable, but we'll have to wait and see what the team's mentalities will be once they join us back again tomorrow on the battlefield. With that, we want to give a big thank you to everyone for tuning in, for watching. A big shout out to all these teams. You guys are absolutely fantastic. And of course, we look to see you all back again tomorrow. Of course, big thank you going out to the production team, to you as well, Span. And we see you all back again tomorrow with our final day for the PUBG Mobile Pro League Arabia qualifiers for Season 3.